experienced the pandemic in Ghana, and then even the restrictions were imposed. So you have farmers who may have commodities but can still not sell to be able to finance. What it means is that it will limit the extent to which they could produce for the 2020 production year. And that will have its effects at the point of harvest. And then, of course, because of this, farmers generally experience reduced revenue, which also affected the extent to which they could produce. So to those who think that, yes, COVID-19 disrupted everything, including the agribusiness supply chain system, these are the reasons that can be given. But I have two key questions. My question is COVID-19 really the major cause of the ongoing maize crisis? Or to put it a different way, is this crisis new to the Ghanaian agribusiness industry? As far as I'm concerned, I think that although COVID-19 had a role to play, I think that the role that COVID-19 played, especially looking at where production takes place, the timing of the activities, and what we're experiencing and what we have experienced over the year, I think there are other factors that we can consider beyond COVID-19. I'm not in any way downplaying the role played by COVID-19, but I think that we need to look beyond COVID-19, because if we don't do that, then COVID-19 may be gone in the next year too. We pray that even goes this year. But the point is that we may come back to this same problem if we don't address the fundamental issues. So what's beyond COVID-19? What do I think are some of the factors accounting for the current crisis we're experiencing? We are all aware that we have an annual ritual up north where every year we know that we will spill the Bagre Dam, and every year we do it and it affects several hectares of farmland. The question is, what is going to change this year and next year? So this is also a key factor. And most of the places that got flooded are places that they do a lot of maize, a lot of soybean, a lot of sorghum and millet. So if we are not able to get an antidote to that spillage, I'm afraid that we may get to this point again. And then down south especially, Nuruddin was talking about climate change and its impact. Now it is obvious that climate change is affecting everything we do, especially in the agricultural space. So there was poor rainfall. What it means is that crop yield was reduced drastically. And once production is limited or productivity is limited, what it means that it will translate into limited supply. And then once demand remains same or even increased, we are likely to experience hikes in prices. But you also notice that generally there are inefficiencies in the agribusiness supply chain. I am informed that even this crisis that we are talking about, the extent of the crisis will vary from one point of the country to the other. Say that if you go to certain parts of the northern region, certain remote areas, the products are there. The prices may not be as high as they are in our major market areas. So I think that until we also are able to improve the efficiency of the general supply chain in the agricultural space, you may have space barrier where there is sometimes even excess supply at one point of the country, but there is limited supply at another point. There has to be a way of bridging this particular gap to make products easily accessible. Another factor that I think is also accounting for this is that I am aware that we also have cross-border traders who come into the country, and usually because they are well resourced, they are able to procure in huge volumes. In addition, there are times where they are able to, in order to win competition, they are able to offer the price, offer more than what the average aggregator will be able to offer. So if there has been movement of maize from the country to Niger, to Cote d'Ivoire, and other neighboring countries, and I'm aware that the volumes that move out are quite huge. So we need to be able to look at this also. Then we have several nice programs and policies, both in the public and the private space. But I think that what is limiting is that the coordination of these activities. We can do more. We can do better by looking at how to coordinate the several nice programs. So PFJ is in itself is very interesting. 1D one warehouse in itself is very interesting. Activities of buffer stock is quite good. But are we really getting the maximum benefits from all these nice programs? I think that we can look at it. So what has been the impact of this crisis on the farmer, on the poultry sector, and other areas? I think that with the reopening of schools and more or less lifting of all the economic bans, so people who produce kinky, everybody is selling. What it means is that demand will continue to be high, and therefore the prices may continue to go up until we do the next harvest. So that problem is going to persist for quite some time. That will translate into high cost of living. So to the household, and most of our food, in one way or the other, got something to do with maize. Our banku, our cocoa, our kenke, all these are food, maize-based products. So if price of the maize are happen to go up, then it will also affect the household budget. Then another key area that we need to pay attention is the impact on the poultry industry. The impact on the poultry industry. Maize is a key component of poultry feed. So if the already high cost of production is being worsened by the price of maize, then it gives us a reason to be worried about, because then it translates into the price of eggs, it translates into the price of chicken, and already we are not very price competitive. If you compare our local poultry meat industry with the imported ones, although quality, I think that we are ahead. In terms of price, we are not very competitive. So if the already bad case is made worse by the high prices of maize, then we have an issue on our hand. Then just recently, I mean, we issued certificate for people to import maize for the poultry industry. Yes, there are pros and cons, but the point is that it puts pressure on the local currency, because importing means that you need foreign currency, you need to exchange. And what it means is that if this continues, although there are good side to it, I'm just saying that the impact on the city is going to be worse by the day. And then you realize that we are not able to meet our targets for the last year in terms of inflation. Now, all these things will affect food inflation, which will translate into the overall rate of inflation for the country. So that is one thing that's the government to be interested in. And then firms that are not able to compete because either they don't have supply of the maize, or the price at which the products are available is not something that they can afford. We'll have no other option than to either downsize or close down completely. That will translate into job losses. And those who are fortunate to stay, they may have to settle for cuts in pay. Now, the overall impact is that there will be high levels of food and nutrition insecurity in the country. And in the long term, we know the effect on the population. So this current crisis is something that we need to pay attention to. Now, I say that unfortunately, we appear to be on the same path. It appears that what happened last year, what appears to happen every year, is not different from what is happening this year. In the next 3 months, production activities are supposed to commence. Now, COVID is also what some people are already calling second wave. Although, I mean, others also think that the wave has already been there, just that we were not doing much. So what it means is that we are likely to experience what we experienced about a year ago. What are we going to do different in order to avoid revisiting this topic next year, or I mean a year from now? I think that we need to have effective coordination of the various programs within the agribusiness ecosystem. There should be very good combination between the public sector and the private sector. Industry players must be involved. Now, I also think that we need to resource the buffer stock company, the 1D1 warehouse. I think that we can do more. Even though buffer stock may be doing its best, we can do more to give true meaning to what they were established to do. Now, there must be effective linkage of producers and buyers, both within the private and the public space. And I think that can happen if we invest in ICT infrastructure as a country, or the private sector can also be involved, because it should be possible for the aggregator, for the farmer to be able to be on the platform. We know, yes, Isoko is doing its bit, Farmerline is doing its bit, but I think that we can do more. Now, there must also be conscious efforts to invest in agricultural infrastructure, especially when it comes to irrigation. And this is so because for how long can we continue to do God have mercy agriculture? I mean, we need to invest in areas that we think that are important. And then the last but one point I need to make is that, yes, we are not in normal times. There have been stimulus packages. To what extent are farmers beneficiaries of these packages? To what extent are our smallholder farmers especially being assisted to be able to commence production operations in the next 2-3 months? I think that we need to invest in that space. And also, most of our agribusinesses also can do better with planning and management of their operations, because I know a couple of industry players who may not be affected so much by the current prices because they anticipated, they planned, and they stopped. That will come with resource requirement. But I think that if we plan well as agribusiness operators, we should be able to minimize the impact of such price hikes on our activities. So I believe that this will be my initial comments as far as these issues are concerned. As we move on, we can engage further. I want to thank you for your time and for listening. Thank you very much. Bernard, over to you. Hello, Bernard.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Bernard is supposed to be moderating, but I don't know what has happened to his phone. It is possible that probably he's having challenges with network.
Okay, that's right.
So in that light, I think we can open for a few questions before we move on to the next presentation. And so if you want to ask a question, you can put up your hand and then I will mention your name so that you can ask your question. But I will begin myself. I want to ask, how do you situate this crisis in the context of government's flagship program, the Planning for Food and Jobs? Do you think that government should have, instead of doing a wholesale production of every plant or every crop, do you think government should have targeted particular crops where we have fluctuations in production? As you said, the maize crisis is not new, and that is why you were not emphatic attributing the problem to COVID. So in that case, do you think government should rather be targeting particular crops where we have challenges and solve that problem before moving to the general production of every crop?
Okay, thank you for the question. I believe that in every economy, in every space, there must be priorities. For every program, we must be able to prioritize. And if you speak to some of them, they think that they did some prioritization of key commodities. But I believe that we can do more. Yes, especially when we do not have limitless resources, we must be able to invest in areas that will have significant impact on the general economy. So this is even the case when you look at the general macroeconomy. Yes, there are different things happening at different industries, but the point is that we must be able to say that, okay, these are the 2, 3, 5 commodities that if we have crisis in it, because of its rippling effects, we must do everything possible to avoid experiencing such crisis. It is still baffling why Ghana would have to be forced to import maize and other agricultural commodities. But I think we have very nice ideas, very nice programs going on. But to what extent have we paid detailed attention to this program? I believe that yes, prioritization is important. And I am quite sure, based on some interactions we've had on another platform, I mean, the general feeling is that yes, they prioritize, but I think that we could do more with the prioritization. Also, I think that even if we prioritize and we do not effectively coordinate all these programs, my thinking is that one constituency or one district, one warehouse must directly feed into PFJ. Because if you promote production and we have bumper harvest, what happens? There must be a mechanism to be able to effectively, store these produce until they are needed. There must be a direct linkage with one district, one warehouse. So one D1F. So we must be able to coordinate all these activities well. And now you introduce the buffer stock. So all these various programs going on, all these activities, I believe, apart from setting our priorities right, we must be able to also coordinate it in such a way that the actual objective for initiating these programs and policies will be felt.
Thank you very much. I think we have another session presentation that will focus on government programs. So maybe we may get additional details from there also. Sure. So the floor is still open. If you have any question, you can pose it to Dr. Osei Mensah, if you have any question.
I can see Solomon Mensah says he has a question.
Okay, then please unmute your mic and ask your question.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, and Doc, thank you for your presentation. My name is Gordon. I'm moving with Solo, so we are linked on the same line. But I'm Gordon from Isoko.
Okay.
Doc, my issue is our proactiveness in preventing our maize from going outside. Since I don't know what you can say about it, how prudent or what suggestions can you give for some of us to see how best we can prevent such an occurrence again? Well, you notice that during the season, the major season, we have a bumper harvest. But within 1 month of the season, getting to the minor season, almost everything is gone. And the rain fell there during the minor season. So coupled with Christmas and increase in poultry birds, the maize just keep on rising on the open market. And now, even after Christmas, that the population of birds have gone down, you see that maize is still rising. So I don't know, but what says you have, so next time we'll prevent some of these things from going outside. Because if we get the people coming in to pick them, meanwhile our buffer stock don't have the money to stock the maize. So how can we do to at least stop some of them from going?
Okay, thank you very much. But I think the question we need to ask in asking whether how can we stop? Is it legal or illegal for somebody from, say, a trader from, say, Ivory Coast, Cote d'Ivoire, to come procure maize and send it outside? Don't forget that we are operating in the ECOWAS space, and therefore, I believe that maybe when the government, the one presenting on behalf of policymakers come, they can speak more to it. But I believe that if it is not illegal, if the treaties and all the ECOWAS protocols allow free movement of goods and services within that West African space, then you have in a free market, you have challenges trying to impose restrictions on these traders. Don't forget, we also go out there. We also import onions. We import tomato. The question is, what can we do locally to ensure that we have an effective system that connects the actors in the chain, to ensure that when there are excesses, the excesses are mopped out from the system, kept for a time where they'll be needed. I believe that if we do our homework right, then it becomes less burdensome to worry about what the other foreign traders will do, because the farmer is a rational being. If the Ghanaian aggregator comes and says that I will offer 100 Ghana cedis, and somebody from Niger, from the Cote d'Ivoire comes and the person decides to top it up by 10% and offers 110, a rational profit maximizing smallholder farmer would want to go for the one, regardless of where they are coming from, because where they are coming from does not change the purchasing power of the money they will have. So I believe that we need to coordinate our local activities well, and then if what they are doing is not illegal, I doubt whether we can prevent anybody from trading. But I want to believe that when other speakers they can speak to this issue more. So I see Emmanuel asking, to what extent could gender have played a role in contributing to the current situation? But of course, the gender will always be an issue in almost all cases. Well, I think that yes, we cannot downplay the effect of gender on what is happening, especially when a couple of the smallholder farmers that supply a lot of the maize that we always have in the system are also female. So, but I think that this problem is a perennial problem. So we may need to resource the vulnerable groups more. Now, COVID came with a lot of restrictions. It affected economic activities. It affected people's general revenue. So if the guy who is the average guy is affected negatively, then you can ask yourself what will happen to the women, the youth, and the vulnerable groups. So and that is why I made a point about making conscious effort to assist the smallholder farmers. And in doing so, we must be able to target those who are hit harder in terms of this COVID. So I believe that gender will have a role to play in this whole crisis. And therefore, when we are attempting to address it, we must look at how we can capacitate the most vulnerable group among the smallholders to cushion them to be able to be economically active again.
Okay, Doc, thanks. I want to once again apologize, but I'm fully in. I had a few technical challenges, but thanks, I'm back. So please, if you have any question concerning what must be done in the future, that's panel 2. Over here, we work on this particular panel, we want to establish what really went wrong, what happened, and then what has the impact been to the people, the farmers, the poultry farmers, anyone along the value chain, what has the impact been? So we have a lot of presenters today who are very short time. I went off, so Doc spoke for a long time. It's supposed to be 5 minutes. We have a lot of presenters today who will give from their perspective I know a couple of people along the value chain. I know Dash Farm is here. Madame Lucy Quinn, who has worked intensively with farmers, is also here to at least contribute what the impact has been from their perspective. So if you have any question regarding what should be done in the future, please reserve it for panel 2. On this panel, we want to establish what went wrong and what has the impact been. Thank you. So if I will take your question at the end of the panel before we proceed to the next panel. So Mr. Kuche, please reserve your question. I've acknowledged, and then I've acknowledged that your hand is up. I'll come to you for your question. So if GMET is ready now, we would like them to present on farmers depend on seasonal forecast. And what really went wrong? Was the seasonal forecast, was it not accurate? What really happened? So we would like them to present and give us from their perspective what went wrong. So if Mr. Jeremiah is here from the Ghana Meteorological Agency, please present to us. Mr. Jeremiah, we can't hear you. Please check if you've muted your microphone, if you can unmute it and then present.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, yeah. I'm Jeremiah Zuskalazia, representing Ghana Meteorological Agency, Agro-Meteorology Unit. My presentation will focus on rainfall anomalies for March, May season, April to June season. Then I'll talk about the cumulative rainfall for 2020, 10-day rainfall distribution for transition zone, forest zone, another zone. And then my observation, and then activities taken by GMET for farmers groups, and my recommendation. Yeah, rainfall anomalies for March season. I'm just going to briefly talk about the whole country, about the rainfall anomalies, Abedefi, Accra, Ada, and then Akashi. You could realize that these are, the blue part talks about the surplus rainfall, the red part sort as deficit rainfall. So you could realize that our rainfall for all these stations show variability. If you look at Ada, you see that a decreasing trend with variability. Akashi, the same thing, you have the increasing trend with variability. You go to Akimoda, Akushe, Atebobo, and Agzim, we see similar variabilities. Some going down, others also increasing a bit. Look at Bichem, Cape Coast. The man have surplus rains some years, deficit rains some years. Then you go to Hafasini, Ho, and then Koforidua, you see the same trend. You have variability of rainfall. Then you go to, this one is for MAM, which is, the MAM is May, March, April, May season. Then you go to April, May, June season, you see the same variability. So we see that our rains are generally variable for all the seasons. So we look across the seasons, all others are increasing slightly, others are also reducing. Now, let us go to the rainfall for 2020, the accumulative accumulation. If you look at what is really happening here, for Accra, you see the yellow line here stands for the below normal rainfall. And then that is the climatology. Then the ash line is normal rainfall, and the blue line here stands for below above normal rainfall. This purple line is the 2020 rainfall. And we realize that at the beginning, Accra, it will have below normal rainfall. It could up a little bit, and then we have some dry spells within here. Even at the beginning, we have dry spell. So look at all the stations who have those things. But from here, I'm going to concentrate much on the 10-day rainfall. That will give us more information. But I just want to tell you how the rains behaved. If you look at Tama, you see the same. It was below normal, then it increases, and then we have dry spells here, dry spells. Then you look at the same thing. You go to Axim, you can see 2020, which is the purple line, was above. If you look at Excel Pond, it was below normal rainfall. You go to Takoradi, at the beginning, it was below normal rainfall. It increased later. And then you have some dry spells within the distance. So this is where how it really formed for most of the stations. Then if you go to Sepobakwai, Ebetifi, and Kumasi, you see Kumasi, which is also had the same thing. That it was below normal, increased a bit, and then we had dry spells around here. So generally, that is how the rains fall behave. Now, let us go to where I wanted to concentrate my explanations, which is the 10-day rainfall. Mostly, we always try to find out within the distribution of rain within the 10-day period, because crops, if you look at the 10-day rainfall, that gives you how the crops benefit from the rains. And we always concentrate on that. So this one I'm taken from the forest zone. This is Kumasi. Look at Kumasi, the graph here tells us that around down there is the decade. These are 10 days. And if you look at 1, 2, 3, it tells you that the first decade of, if the one stands for the first decade of January, which means from 1st to 10th, 1st to 10th of January. Then the 2, I just want to explain the thing before I go on. The 2 also stands for the second decade of January, which is from 11th to 20th. Then the 3 there stands for from 21st to 31st. So if you look at Kumasi, the 7 here means that from March 1st decade, 1st to 10th of March, the rain started from there. By the second decade, the rainfall was so low. But if you look at all the decades from there up to 20th, which the 20th here stands for, the second decade of July. Well, that is from the 11th to 20th of July. So you could see all the decades have rain. Every 10 days there was rain. But the rain subsided around 21st and 22nd, which is the 21st stands for the second decade of July. That's the third decade of July. It means that there they didn't have the rain. And then from 22nd to 24th is stands for the August. So, and this is always the dry spells, second dry season for the southern sector. But you could see the second from 25th, which is the September 1st to 10th, the rain started. But you see it didn't go much, because if you had planted for your maybe second season, you realize that from 29th to from 29th to 31st, says from the second to first decade of October. So you see, the rainfall was not much. And if you had planted your crops, maybe that area, that time, you're going to face challenges, because the crops are going to face challenges, because that period, if that is the critical period for the crop, is going to affect. Now, you go to the second slide, which is Sunyani, which is about The rains also started around 7th. The 7th day also stand for March 1st to 10th. But the first, 2nd to 10th, on which is the 8th, there was no rain. But you could see from there, there have been every 10 days, there have been rainfall throughout, up to July 1st decade. But from July 2nd decade, which is from July 11th going, there was no rain, up to September 1st decade, which is September 1st to 10th. There was no rain. So, and for this side, I mean, this is actually the dry second dry season. But second season, which is supposed to start around 26th, which is the second decade of September, is also not long, because from November going, there was no much rain. So if you had planted your crop, it means that from November going, if the crops are going to face challenges, then we go to Isuta, which is also part of the forest. The season also started around 7, which is first decade of first 10 day of March. So you could see from there when there has been rain for all the decades. Every 10 days there has been rain. But if you look at the last decade, which started from the 26th, which is from 11 to 20 of September, you can see the rains were not good. So it means that if farmers has planted maize in this particular season, it's not going to be good at all. Then go to transition zone, which is Atebobu. Atebobu, the graph also tells that the rain started around March, which is around the 7th. Then there have been subsequent rainfall within every 10 days, they have to rainfall. But when you get to July, which is always around the dry spells, the second dry season, there was no much rain there. And then the second season, which is always around September 1st going, you realize that the rains were there, but it didn't keep long, because if you had planted, it's also going to affect the maize. Let's continue to Kintampo. This graph also is Kintampo. It also shows that the rain started around March, which is 7th. The 7th day stands for March 1st decade, which is 1st to 10th of March. From 11th to 20th of March was not good, but there was rains a bit up to the 20th, which is the July 2nd decade, which is 1st to 11th to 20th of July. But if you also look at the second season, which starts from always start from 23rd, 25th, around that area. The 23rd day is August. I mean, the August, they were getting rains in August. August first decade, the second decade, they had rainfall about 80 millimeters. Then the second decade of, third decade of August, there was no much. So you see, it was very short. It was very short for the second season. So if farmer had planted maize, he's going to face challenges too. Then you go to Wenchi, which is also part of transition. It also tells us that the rain starts around March, which is the 7 day starts for March 1st decade, which is 1st to 10th. And there was subsequent rainfall for all the decades. Every 10 days there was rainfall to get to this area where we have a second dry season. But you could see the second season, which is only start from September, was not also long. So you see, if you had planted maize, you are going to face challenges. Then you look at 10-day rainfall for Ijura. Ijura also started around March, which is the 7th, first metric for March. Then there was second rainfall throughout. When you got to the small dry season here, but if you look at the second season, was not also good because the rainfall was not all that much. So that can also affect the maize. Then you go to Ketekarachi. Ketekarachi also shows that the rain started around March, the 7th day stand for March, first decade, which is 1st to 10th. Then subsequently there was rains for all every 10 days there was rains. And then we have some small dry season here, and then we had some rains. But if you look at the second season, it was somehow better because It was not like the other ones, but it was somehow better, but not as compared to the first season. Then you go to Prang. Prang was not all the good. Even if you look at the first decade, the season started around March last decade. That was March 21st to 30th. 31st. That was why the rain started. But you could see the rains were not all that much. Then it picked up around August, second decade, but it didn't keep long. And then we have a long dry spell from July up to August. There was no rains. Then the second season 2 was not all that long because the rain stopped around. If you look at 30th, there was the 30th that started from November last decade, the October last decade, and the October last decade too shows that it was not long. So if a farmer has planted, he's going to face challenges too. If you go to northern zone, Tamale also tells us that around March, we were getting rains, even though it was not enough because of the high evapotranspiration. So it was not much that to be planted, but see, every 10 days, they were getting rains. It was long, but they also have some small dry spells within July last decade, July 20th, 21st to 31st. They had dry spells there up to August. So it means if a farmer has planted earlier, and then maybe you planted around June, so you're going to face, your crops are going to face challenges within this area, this particular time. So you go to Yendi. Yendi also tells us that the rain started around second decade of, that is 11th to 20th of March. The rain also started there. So every decade there was rain, even though the rain was not enough. But you could see the rains, there was rainfall for all up to July first decade, second decade. And then there were also dry spells from July 21st up to August 10th. There were dry spells there. So if a farmer has planted around June, it means that you're likely to face, your crops are likely to face challenges between this kind of this period. You also go to Bole. Bole also tells us that the rain also started around March, which is the 7th. First to 10th of March, there was some rains, even though the evaporation rate will be high, it can't support crops planting. But from the second decade was somehow better. And if you look at every decade was getting rains, even though some of them were getting less. But you also see you had dry spells from 20th, which is from 11th to 11th July up to August 10th, there was no rain at all. So if you had planted around June, that means the crops are going to face challenges too around there. It means that our farmers, when they plant and the critical period falls within July, August, it will be a problem. If you go to Damango, it also tells us that the rains also started around 7th, which is the first decade of March. We could see up to August, which is 4th, what do you call it, May, there was less rainfall around here. It increased, so the rainfall was not all that much. And then they also had dry spells within this kind of the period, between that July, August. If you go to Bimbala, this is how it also performed there. They also performed there. You see a lot of, even though the season started around March, which was not much, but you see this with the high evaporation, if the rainfall is not, amount is not high here, it's not going to be good. They also had dry spells within July, August. And then this one was somehow better. You go to Wale Wale, you could see, if you look at the map, here is 50. So the rains were also started around, like I said, that was around April, second decade. That is 11th to 20th of April. But you could see the rains too were also having, some areas were not having rains. Then they also have dry spells here. So if a farmer has planted around here, yes.
Yeah, please, you have 5 minutes to.
Okay, yeah, I'm just getting to addition. Okay, we get to Wa. You also see Wa, you have the same period. The rain started around April first decades. That was how we have significant rains, and every decade had rains. We had dry spells here too. That was what also happens. Babili was somehow better. Then you go to Navrongo, this is how the rains also performs. Then you go to Walgachanga. The rain started around May. The rest was also there around June, July, August. Then Garu, this house, the rain also performed. It was not all that bad, but you see, you have dry spells within this is up to, and this is Manga Boku. The rain also started around March. So this was how they didn't behave. So we realized that even though the race shows variability rather than evolution, the sources realized that there were longer dry spells within seasons for the 2020 period, which GMET will really focus the dry spells. The activities GMET is taking is we are currently we are sending weather forecast by GASEP program, which is Ghana Agriculture Sector Investment Program to farmers. So they give them through SMS to the farmers about the weather forecast. So this is what we have been engaging about 1,500 farmers. We're also collaborating with the University of Ghana and then Makerere University of Uganda to come out with this thing called information distribution system WIT, so that we can give to our farmers in local languages. That is the project we are taking. And then the recommendation I have is the farmers should pay attention to the seasonal and daily forecast, and then also focus on drought tolerance species, and then let's with GMET and agriculture authorities for expert advices. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jeremy, and that was very insightful. And then a lot of us have now got to understand what really happened from the data perspective. Okay. Thanks for that presentation. We are also collaborating with GMET in that aspect to ensure determination of seasonal forecast to farmers in a way that is useful to them, and then they can interpret it. So, Dr. Kojo Owusu, I once read your paper that you collaborated with a colleague and you projected higher temperatures in the northern region. Do you think that has a role in this? Before you have a presentation, actually you have a delivery, but before we go to that, in terms of climatic factors, do you think that projected temperature, we are in that season right now?
Okay. Yeah, I think that temperatures are higher, and the problem, as the gentleman just presented, is that if you have even the same amount of rain, if the temperatures are going higher, then your chances of evapotranspiration also goes high. So that becomes another layer of challenge for smallholder farmers who are always dependent on this rainfall for production. So yeah, temperatures are constantly higher relative to previous benchmarks. Normally we benchmark it against 1960 to 2000 and stuff like that. So yeah, temperatures are also a challenge, because even if the rainfall remains the same, then you have recharges and evapotranspiration being a challenge from the Is that okay?
Right.
Yeah, Doc, that's well said. You have advocated that the establishment of the tree crop authority, I think there's recently an authority established to look into tree crops. You have strongly advocated that might take attention from food crops, and it may lead to a food insecurity issue. And you have worked extensively with smallholder farmers. From your perspective, what are the factors that you think have contributed to this crisis? If you have a slide that you have prepared, please you can
Sure.
show. Yeah.
Okay. So I want to share the screen. Just a second. Just give me a second. I'll put my thing up. Okay.
Okay.
So basically, just a sec. I wasn't. Let's see. Okay. Okay. I hope you can see my screen now.
Yes,
Yes, we can.
Yes,
Can
see your screen. Yeah.
Okay. So basically, we are all aware of the tree crop authority that was nominated. The background to that is the government came to power, the last government, and the farmers were asking for some action. So that was a campaign promise that a board will be created similar to the cocoa board to look at cashew issues. So I think immediately the government came to power, some attempt was made at making that work. But then what happened was it wasn't properly taken off. So last year, I think of sometime later, the board was inaugurated, and now it encompasses more than cashew, and it includes other crops like mango and the rest. But the relation here, I had spoken somewhere that what is happening is that that can have a challenge for food crops in general and maize in particular, with the idea that the farmers are trying to maximize their production in terms of efficiency, in terms of income, what will give them the better price. So I think that the reality is the tree crop authority or the board that is coming to see the production and make it efficient is a reactionary or reactive adaptation policy from the state part, being that the farmers had already planted the cashew. They are suffering consequences like price fluctuation. The varieties they don't give a lot of yield, the maximum yield you can. So those are where the farmers want the government to come in. But I will discuss how it could have a part to play in the maize crisis, but it is not responsible from my interaction with the farmers and as a few of my predecessors on the dialogue has said. So some of the work I've done also in 2015, there was a mini crisis, and I did a little bit of work on that. And I really thought that I was coming from a theoretical point. There was a massive El Nino whereas once El Nino happens, West Africa in general and Southern Ghana in particular gets drier. And so I thought the shortfall would affect maize production. And my speculation or proposition for the work was it will affect prices. So I decided to look at the production point to see if there was a reduction. And I also look at the market point. I went to Techima market to talk to the buyers and sellers to see if there was a significant change, but there wasn't. So the idea was that, yeah, there were shortfalls in terms of the production, but in terms of the market at the time, the maize price was about 150 cedis, the maxi bag at the market. So the sellers said that the rain shortfall probably was severe in southern Ghana, but they get a lot of maize coming from outside the transition zone that one will assume is the main production hub. So some NGOs have helped people in Bole and areas where Upper West and beyond, and production was good, and they bring it to the market. So that was okay. So the episodes of what happened in 2015 and 2020 are all linked to rainfall variability. And from the GMET presentation, it reaffirms what we know about rainfall, that is very variable, more variable than many parts of the world. The tropical rainfall is quite variable, year-to-year variability, and even sometimes multi-year or multi-decadal variability. So I present today that the likelihood of frequent and severe maize shortage in future due to one tree crop policy and climate change is very high. So we shouldn't, and I like it, my colleague from KNUST said that there are structural inefficiencies in the production system. And if we don't address that, all I'm saying is that the policy to encourage the farmers to do tree crops will aggravate what is likely to come. So in a nutshell, that's what I'll present, and I'll talk about it, few things about it. So as I have always said, or earlier said, that this policy to help the production and marketing of selected tree crop is reacting to what the farmers are doing. So I'm not saying that that is bad, the government is not helping. So what this can do for maize and food crop and for the resilience of the smallholder farmer could include, but not limited to, increased production efficiency. So that we will leave to the econometrists and so if the farmer thinks that he plants food crop, Ghana is happy, you get food to eat, but prices are very low. But if I plant cash crop, mango, if I plant cashew, my chances of making good money is high. So then I put my resources to a better use. They will switch more. So the other side is, even the ones that are not switching, the little they have, they may have higher income. In fact, if you go to the transition areas where cashew started earlier, coming from Sampa, Japekrum, those areas, Brekum areas, to Techima and Ketampo in Kranza, people are now doing very well. You see, if you travel through those places, you see a lot of new buildings or new roofing. People are doing better because how much is a bag of maize? Not until now was hovering around 1,000 to 120 cedis, 150 cedis. But the cashew, you pick it up, that's about it. You send it straight to the buyer. You get average between, for the last 3 years, average between 5 and 8 cedis per kilo. So the bag will translate between 500 and cedis and 800 cedis. So it's good money. People are doing well. It's improving their standard of living. It's building resilience in other ways. So it's improving their income. They are able to do things they wouldn't have been able to do. They are getting some crops instead of total failure from the food crops they do. I also say that if you look at the farm below, that is the picture we are seeing is a cashew tree intercropped with maize, with legume, most likely groundnut. So yes, at the early stages, first 3, 4 years, 5 years, depending on the design, you can put other crops there. And because the cashew farms are bigger, you are likely to get more product. But my fear is that if this policy keeps encouraging the farmers and other things are not put in place. So I was listening, and it was interesting. The earlier speaker was talking about, and he was being questioned about, you put in planting for food and job, but really what have you done to the production system itself? I am beginning to develop some theories that by even providing improved seedlings to farmers, and I hope the panel will agree with me, if you don't add what those improved seeds need in the ratios and proper proportions for them to yield well, you actually make the smallholder farmer less resilient. Let me give you an example. So we have this, our plants we do. We take the seeds from our farm and we plant them. A typical example some of us may have seen, oranges. We plant an orange, it may not yield throughout the year. Now the improved seeds, you have small oranges, you have medium, you have mature, you have the ones you are harvesting. But most of them are budded seedlings when they are given to us or farmers. But if you don't educate the person planting it well, on rare occasions, you do see the crop developing not well cared for, and you have a lemon and an orange on the same tree. Whereas without any training, the farmer could have planted a traditional variety or indigenous variety, and you will get orange. So what I'm saying is, if you give a farmer improved variety that cannot withstand intermittent rainfall, and you don't provide something like irrigation, because all these high-yielding varieties are grown under conditions that is not what my friend, the average smallholder, is doing in Ghana. So I think that the Tree Crop Authority, as I'm saying, reacting to what the farmers are doing, could yield unintended consequences that could increase the smallholder vulnerability to climate change and market shocks. So, for example, the picture we are seeing again could be the same farm, or the other farm we saw could translate into this. So now the canopy has closed. No undergrowth, you can't stake anything there. So the more and more land you are converting from food crop to cashew crop is going to reduce, all things being equal, the food crops you can produce. So land conversion is a problem, low food production after canopy closure, and there is a lot of work to be done, because now the board or the authority doesn't function like the cocoa board. So you don't have guaranteed prices, and you can only provide guaranteed prices when what you are buying, you know where you are sending it to, there is a high demand and a fixed market, and the product has so many uses, and you are the only one who can produce it. So for cocoa, we are still probably the second larger producer, but for cashew, you have India, Vietnam, Tanzania, and other places. When they get a good yield, nobody even comes to Ghana to buy. Very little gets sold. So if you have a glut, prices will be low. And if you don't have food and you are going to buy food, then there is a likelihood that there will be food insecurity. So these are what I am observing from the smallholder field and have started writing about it. So let's look at climate change component to the current or recent maize crisis. So I have done work in Mid-Ghana, and so normally I look at Wenchi, Ejura. Part of the reason, not only because I'm familiar with the territory, but because both Ejura and Wenchi are synoptic stations. So you have synoptic climatic stations. So you have data going back. So I've done a lot of work there. So in 2014-2015 planting season, we wanted to compare. So in terms of your rainfall for places like Techima and Wenchi, it was about halved. In fact, the bulk of the maize in this area comes from the Nkranza district or municipal, and especially Idra Sechedumasi. These are heavy maize producers. So you got to talk to the farmers. So in fact, in that year, Idra was not that bad. But the last season, I heard there was almost a total crop failure in Idra. I'm here to follow up because the rain was that bad. So between the two periods, the second graph you see is the yield shortfall based on the data we got from the District Agricultural Directorate. So you can see Idra got less, and then the yield difference was less, even though it also went down a bit. And then you see that it's highly correlated. So if you ask my view, we can significantly put a higher variance of what happened to the production last season to rain shortfall. But I must say that when it comes to the rainfall and the crop failure, the major challenge the farmers are facing, the maize producers, everybody, and even it's reversing to the cashew, is that in terms of the total amount of rain, I'm not seeing significant reduction. In some places, the rain is even going up. But the problem we are facing, or the farmers are facing now, is that the rain doesn't come when you need it. So in the middle of the production is the rain cuts. So last year, we had a lot of challenges. The rain was not there during the minor season. And then when the dry season started, now it's raining. The cashew farmers are also now crying because it is the drop in temperature and the distinct dry season that boosts the yield. So in the challenges that the smallholders are facing, it's mainly within the timing of the rain, not necessarily the total amount. So my recommendation is that the Tree Crop Authority cannot just stay reactive. Please, if you can mute your speaker, we can hear you so I can continue.
Please, apart from the speaker, everybody should mute their mics. Sorry.
Thank you. So my suggestion or observation is that the Tree Crop Authority cannot remain reactive. I don't think that is their mandate anyway. They need to improve. So some of the things they seek to do is market, provision of good seedling. The government has signed contract with support from GIZ to get high quality seedlings from Brazil and stuff like that. Because even with the cashew, Ghana is averaging between 400 and probably 600 thereabout metric tons per acre, whereas others are doing 800 and 1,200. So the yield is not good. So part of what they want to do is but I think one of my recommendations is, unless the authority work with the farmers to the extent that even old crops should be cut, to design plots that will allow for some combination of food crop, maize or whatever food crop it is, with the cashew. And now what they are doing, and the farmers even don't follow the recommended spacing of about 12 by 30 feet. That will give you good yield because they don't want to also weed. So they plant them as close to each other as possible with the view that, oh, when it grows, we will cut it. So even their canopy closes very early. So if a proper research and design that will allow for long-term combination of food crop, maize, or other crop with the cashew or mango, then the maize crisis could deepen in the future. I also think that there should be proper education that probably that authority or Ministry of Agri, GASSEP and the rest can take upon themselves. If the farmers are not educated in terms of land use planning, because I'm not talking about national land use. If we had proper national land use implementation, in Ghana, I won't talk about plan because as for planning will be there. But if you were implementing some and site suitability analysis and others have been done, then cashew will not be everywhere. There will be land reserved for other things. But as it is now, the farmers are only looking at their options and putting the cashew everywhere. Education and probably policies should be put in place for land that can support good food crops to be reserved. Else, that could deepen the food insecurity. So above all, if you listen to all the presentations that are going, it is our over-reliance on natural processes in the production system, especially dependence on rainfall for agriculture. So I think that probably we all as a people should go back to the drawing board and look at what we want to integrate into the planting for food and jobs and planting for industry. Many of us will not have a lot to write about or even a lot of problem to try to contribute to solving if Ghana will embrace irrigation. I think it's about time. What we need to talk about is not blaming climate change, but questioning why at the 21st century, our agriculture is still predominantly rain-fed. It is that over-reliance on rainfall that has precipitated the crisis we are seeing now. So long as I'm concerned, the fall worm and all that, not this year. This year, the main clear thing that stands in your face is that the farmers did not get the rain when they needed it. So if through planting for food and job and other initiatives, we had small-scale irrigation, which could be done from rainfall harvesting or some underground sources, then we can improve production, make the smallholder resilient, and avert the likely crisis that will continue because climate change comes with increased variability in terms of the frequency and magnitude. On that note, I would like to thank you. On that note, I would like to thank you, and if you have questions and there is time, I would like to answer them. Thanks.
Presentation GMET presented earlier with regards to what the data says. On that note, we'll invite GCS, Ghana Commodity Exchange, to tell us the market drivers, the role of the market drivers in the crisis, how they contribute to this crisis. So if Mr. Owu is here, I would like to hear from you. It may not be a presentation, you can share from your perspective how the market drivers have contributed to this. Hello. Oh, okay. So if Mr. Owu is not ready, I think I'll check up with him again. Would like to know if Mr. Boris. Okay, let me take peasant farmers first. If peasant farmers are here, I would like to hear from you. What has been the impact on your members? How has the shortage affected the farmers? And what's useful to you so far? So let's hear from peasant farmers. I would like to take some views from the audience, others who have their hands raised. So, Mr. I saw someone's hand up. You just put it back. The contribution, the floor is open, and we're hoping to have the Boris, who represents the poultry farmers, and then peasant farmers, who represent the smallholder farmers, to give us, from a real life point of view, what has the impact been on their business. So I would like to, Madam Lucy Queno, you have worked with smallholder farmers and FBOs intensively. You might have spoken to them. How has this impacted? What has been the impact on them in terms of revenue and anything else?
Oh, my contribution is in twofold. I hope you can hear me. Hello?
Yes, please.
Okay, good afternoon once more. And
yes, we can hear you.
Good afternoon, and this has been a very educative and insightful platform and webinar. So I'm happy to be here. And what I would say is that basically what drives the farmers to go into the maize production is income, revenue, how they would make ends meet. So if soybean is more lucrative than maize, that is what is happening now. All of them are going into maize because we have foreign traders going to the farm gates and buying at prices that are more economically sustainable to them, that is in soybean, than maize. So we find the farmers having a preference of planting maize than planting soybean than maize. Another thing is that the post-COVID shocks, market access, the lockdown. Yes, there was a free flow of transportation and what in terms of trading in the agri sector, but because of the limited purchasing power of traders at that time due to poor access to finance, it had a ripple effect on the season last year. The farmers market wasn't too good because lockdown, number one, access to market access, number one, market access stemming from lockdown, stemming from lack of proper access to finance and so many other factors. So this problem has its remote causes and has immediate causes which have to be dealt with in the context within which we find ourselves in. All the different stakeholders that contribute to the farmers, the maize value chain, have to be evaluated in such a way that all their factors, access to finance, and climate risk, it should be mitigated properly so that farmers have the right information, they have the right agronomic support and agri-extension services support this year, so that they are able to forecast what will happen the whole year. Meteorological services should have the right tools to be able to forecast the entire season from now, So it's not just the weather patterns, but the crop characteristics, like for example, how this particular type of maize crop would be in the specific times of the cropping cycle. This should be known from now. We should be able to forecast the weather and its cropping cycle activities properly from now, so that this will mitigate risk in the planting cycle, the cropping cycle, and even attract financial institutions to go into agric, because we have forecasted so well that they know the risk and are able to mitigate the risk with proper insurance schemes and proper risk mitigation tools, so that access to finance is better for these farmers and better for the aggregators and better for other stakeholders that lead to the success of the maize value chain. So this is multifaceted. Each stakeholder, from the production actors to the aggregation through to the other actors, should coordinate and see how we can liaise and come up with better forecasts in terms of activities in the cropping cycle or characteristics of the plant in the cropping cycle, in conjunction with Meteo and other stakeholders who would invest in the sector better for better forecasting processes. So it's not just forecasting the weather, but forecasting how the crop will do in the plants in the cropping cycle or in the planting cycle from beginning to the end, from March to the end. So we should forecast that better so that we are able to mitigate the risks and we are able to attract financial investment into the chains. So that's what we are talking about. So let's see how we can hold hands and collaborate, both private sector in terms of academic, in terms of private sector consultancy services, associations, CSOs, NGOs, international donor organizations, together with the Ministry of Food and Agriculture and Ghana Meteorological Service to strengthen the maize value chain by forecasting better and attracting more investment in the various stakeholders in the maize value chain. So that's what I would say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm here. Thanks for that presentation, that delivery, and then I like the last part. Partnership is very important. We don't expect GMET to collect the data, and they will be the same people enforcing it around. Once they have the data, as NGOs, as whoever, we can also take that data up, interpret it, and then know what the data means, what it means, what will the impact be, and be able to speak to the farmers and be on the ground with them and prepare them to build resilience for the season. And that's very important. We have a representation from MOFA in the person of Dr. Solomon Jan. Doc, if you are here, can you give us, from your perspective, there was Planting for Food and Job. Of course, people have rated it as one of the best government interventions so far. Was it that there was not enough stock? There was not, the buffer was not enough? And what actually happened from your perspective?
Thank you very much. Well, as you all know, the Planting for Food and Jobs is a flagship agriculture program. And now when we talk of Planting for Food and Jobs, we're talking about 5 models. And let me just mention those models and just place maize in the perspective model. In fact, the first model is the food crops model, where maize falls under that. Maize is one of the focus crops. Then the second one is the Planting for Export and Rural Development, PED. That is what the doctor talked about. Then we have the greenhouse technology villages. Then we have the rearing for food and jobs. Last and not the least is the agriculture mechanization services. So long as maize is the focus crop now let me talk about really what happened. Normally, government through the Ministry of Food and Agriculture try as much as possible to give quality inputs, such as unsubsidized prices, such as maize seeds, I should say maize seeds in general for some specific crops, as well as fertilizers. And this time around, we have even zeroed in on blended fertilizers in order to increase the profitability as well as the productivity on the small scale, on the smallholder farmers field. In fact, the focus, so far as the planting for food and jobs, is on the smallholder farmer, who is supposed to cultivate about 2 hectares or less, or 5 acres or less. These are the focus. And what we try as much as possible to do is that we try to make sure that they have access to these inputs through the private sector, seed and fertilizer companies as early as possible. So for the minor season in 2020, I don't think we had a major so much problem so far as farmers, smallholder farmers having access to perhaps maize seeds and then subsidized fertilizers were concerned. But in fact, it was a shock to all of us. You know, once you plant, you know, you expect the rains to come and then you do the best of your agronomic practices. And then under PFJ, we have another wing, which is the extension services, which I think they have been retooled and they are really supporting the farmers to make sure that they carry out the best agronomic practices to increase their yields and profitability. Then one aspect that PFJ is also doing is agricultural mechanization. We try as much as possible to support these farmers with even handheld machines just to decrease this backbreaking tax so far as labor is concerned. I will now focus on, so we think that in fact, from our perspective, it was the rains. So one recommendation that I will make is that we really have to focus on well irrigation and then encourage even water harvesting, so that the time that we don't have rains and if farmers have stored some water in some structures, which of course, for me, I think it should be a policy. Once they have these structures, I mean standard structures, water harvesting structures, then they can really use this water when they are in need to make sure that all that monies that they have invested doesn't go to waste. That is one. Then secondly, if they have been able to do that, one thing that Planting for Food and Jobs is also doing is to ensure that they market their produce, especially the excess funds. And because of that, I think the national buffer stock is in place and they have some licensed buyers that really go to the farm gates of farmers that have excess produce to buy from them. I mean, that's a result of negotiations and buy from them and store them in their warehouses. For me, I think these warehouses are not enough. So far about, we wanted to construct about 80 of them and 35 has been completed. And well, some of them are in various level of completion. But if we really want to make sure that we have, I think there was some analysis that I read, and if we really want to make sure that we have a buffer so far as the excesses are concerned, we need to have about 200 of such warehouses that are constructed strategically in Ghana, so that we can more or less operate this warehouse receipt systems very well, see, so that we'll be able to absorb some of these shocks. Very, very, very key. And one thing too that PFJ2 has done is that MOFA has signed some contracts with the Ministry of Health and then this Ministry of Education, so that some of these foods, when they are in the warehouse, they wouldn't be there for long, and they can release them, and then our students can also enjoy as their meals. So what we need to do, like I said, we really have to invest in irrigation infrastructure, including these water harvesting structures. And then information key. Whatever information that is needed, whether if the information is being disseminated through the private extension services, for me, I think all of us are extensionists. All those who are involved in the maize value chain are extensionists. So valuable information needs to reach the farmers at a particular point in time so that they can act on it, in whichever form, either electronic or physically. That is very, very key. Because, and I'm giving a specific example, if GMET predicts that there will be a drought at a particular time, at a particular point in time, all of us have to put our hands on deck and come out with a strategy or come out with a communication package that can really get to the farmers so that they can really make sure that the right thing is done for them to increase their profitability and then productivity. Apart from that, I think we have forgotten about research, something that we need to pump in money into research as well. Because when we talk of this variability of rainfall, sometimes you could see that the rainfall period becomes very, very short. And we need to invest into early maturing varieties. And this is something that we even though we have some, but I think we need to do more because varieties needs to be churned out every 5 years due to the exigencies of the time. I think I will end for here at this point.
Okay, thanks. Please, I've contacted peasant farmers and Dr. Boris. They will be joining the discussion. But before that, I saw a couple of hands up. Mr. Fawood, please, your hand is up if you can ask your question. And
Hi, thank you, Bernard, and good afternoon to us all. Not necessarily a question, but a contribution, if that is welcomed at this stage. If I have to hold on to the.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. I think the presenter from UG brought in the issue of the effect of El Nino, what we saw in 2015, and its resemblance to what we are seeing. I have a cocoa background, so I'll start from that point, but I'll say a very beautiful presentation from the GMET team. I'm really appreciated. For cocoa this year, the drought that was experienced across the country, largely between July and August, had a telling effect on cocoa as well, in that it was the period that we had the highest pod load on the trees. Now, ideally, there's a period that you expect some good amount of rainfall for the pods to develop well. We didn't have that situation. The consequence is that you have more pods ripening a bit earlier. So instead of you having bean sizes becoming bigger, which is the main crop beans which are exportable, we are having quite a shift of almost about 100,000 tons of beans, which hitherto would have been main crop becoming light crop. In terms of cost, it translates to nearly 100 million USD cost to or revenue drop to cocoa board because you are giving incentives on some of these crops. Now back to maize, as we do know, there wasn't much problem with the first harvest, and the export of maize to neighboring countries is not really a new thing. The challenge around July, you could, even August, September, you could easily buy maize 80 cities in some parts of Yindi, 100 cities in some parts of Yindi. So why now? So the challenge is with the second phase. And that we can easily put it together with the precipitation anomalies in August. You look at the percentage anomaly and you could realize that most part of the country was as low as 20%. And this coincides with the second planting phase. So there's no way such plantings could survive. Additionally, when the rain started coming in September, and that also coincides with the spillage of the Bagre Dam, the rains came in very strongly. So those who planted in September coincided with above normal precipitation, washed away a lot of plantains and the flowering stages. So this was from my view, this was what happened. But my question is, did we see that earlier? Yes, I think we did see it. So from Matthew, at this point, they can easily tell us what are the seasonal forecasts for maybe February. How do we translate those or transmit those information to the localized agent, not a district or regional extension guy? As Prof did mention, the climate change has increased weather variabilities. So how does the extension officer at the local level get access to some of this information?
Hello. Fuad, I think your mic is off. We cannot hear you.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Fawood, for that question. Please, peasant farmers and then Mr. Boris representing the poultry farmers. If any of you join, please let us know. Mr. Kuche, can you ask your question?
Well, I've just joined the program. So Dr. Boris Beidu is my name.
Oh, okay. So Dr. Boris, you are a poultry farmer, and then would like from your perspective, from the poultry industry, what has the impact been for you?
Well, there have been a lot of challenges for us actually, and seriously, prices are going up with the maize, and then production cost is very high now, as well as the price of the eggs are coming down. I think this week we saw the egg sellers demonstrating of this skyrocketing price of egg prices, which they are not too comfortable with. But then I see this way that this is not the fault of the poultry farmers, because the poultry farmers are now, incurring a lot of costs.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Before we a price of 85, and today we are buying, feed for 150, between 140 to 150, and that is depending on the kind of formulation you are using. So it is really a serious issue right now. Inquiring about the maize prices also outside, price that were communicated to us is hovering over $320 per metric ton. And so even if we have to import, as the minister has given the permit, the price of maize are still going to be very high. But then the problem now, the serious problem that we need to tackle, which I believe as a nation, is why do we give subsidies to farmers to grow maize, and of course allow them to sell the maize at their own prices? Because we know that in America, Chicago board is regulating all these grain prices for each and everyone in the world. But then here, farmers do, take the chance of keeping the maize up to when they want to sell them. And then when the prices are very high, that's when they sell the maize, which is not helping us at all, because the production of broiler and layer, talking about egg production, feed formulation, or the price of the feed is very, very high. And if government could control, the sales of the maize that are being produced or being subsidized, we could have because this 50 kilo bag and 95, these price of 95 cedis per kilo bag and price of 100 cedis I mean, have prices hovering around cities. I mean, maximum 45 per 50 kilo bag, even to produce, I mean, chicken and also to be able to sell into the market. But then if prices are now hovering right now around 110, 120, 100 thereabout, that is really a lot. And so I think that with the poultry sector, if it should continue this way, then I can tell you, a year by now, I mean, most of the poultry farmers will have to close down. Because seriously, we are now buying maize at the retail point, soybean meal, roughly 230, 240, whereby we're buying a few months ago, we're buying at 140, and today is 100, it is more. And then the maize actually, which was selling around 60, even sometimes 55, thereabout, is now selling around 110. So you can see the big difference. And so farmers decided to raise the price of eggs slightly a bit, which now these egg sellers are also fighting against. So where is the intervention? I mean, the government has to come in to intervene a bit for us, because otherwise, I mean, all farmers will close down, and that would be a very bad thing. Besides, we are all dependent on the foreign imports, which is, of course, 550,000 metric tons of chicken are being imported into this country, which is around the 450 million birds. So it tells you that, look, there is no business for the local person, or the infrastructure of the normal poultry farmers are all going down the drain because they don't have businesses to do. We are all dependent on these imports. And we all know that if we have fresh chicken produced in our country, it is more better, and in terms of quality and everything, and even for our condition of health, it's more fresh and it's more better, okay? Because most of the chicken that are being imported, as the FDA in America have indicated, are mostly containers, which is not really helping our young people today. Most people are just, having all these chicken coming from outside. Most of them are having ascending containers, as I said, and it is giving early puberty to our school kids. So we need to have some sort of policies, better policies that will help, run this whole poultry industry holistically. Otherwise, it will be a very big problem, the days ahead. So these are some of the challenges. I mean, maize prices, soya prices, and as from our side, the Boris Bee farms, we're also into raw materials imports. I mean, we're also producing feed, finished feed for the farmers, and we're also doing the poultry, hatchery, and we are into slaughtering, processing of the chicken. As we've put out into the market, we now have the Boris Bee chicken all over the place that people are patronizing, and they are testifying for the taste of it. And so I believe that this program we have the Outgrower program, which we've dubbed PLIG, Poultry and Piggery for Livelihood Improvement in Ghana. And these are done by the farmers, poultry farmers, and we've done the pilot phases, we've done the trials in many stages, and people are really happy with the quality of it. So why can't we, invest into such companies, or why can't we put money, government or maybe the banks supporting such programs for us to make it big and produce more fresh quality stuff for our people? Okay, so these are some of the things. But I believe that I'm praying that, 2021, maybe the minister might probably take a look at that so we can see how to improve upon it.
Okay. Thanks very much. And then if peasant farmers is around, we would like to hear from you before I take these three questions, and then we transit to the final part of the program. Yeah. So do we have peasant farmers now? Okay, so if we don't have peasant farmers, then I'd like to take Lana Musa. Please, you can ask your question or bring your contribution.
Well, my name is Lansa Musa, not Lana. Thank you very much. It's actually not a question. This goes to the Ministry of Agri, especially with the irrigation program. Since the government started its One Village, One Dam, with how it was being implemented, we had the Ghana Social Opportunities Program that was doing mini irrigation dams in various communities in the northern part of Ghana. So when government was introducing the One Village, One Dam policy, I was instead of creating ministry or giving it wholly to the Ministry for Special Development Initiatives, I was thinking just because the dams constructed are still very strong and they are still being used in the communities that they put them in. One in point is the Bandem Dam in the Busa North municipality. So the problems of agriculture and not getting enough water, especially during drought periods, is because of the policies governments put in place to, as it were, introduce irrigation programs. We have the Irrigation Development Authority. We do things without really putting them in the front line to make sure that these things are done properly. So the One Village, One Dam policy, if government intends to continue with it, I'll suggest that the Irrigation Development Authority and then the Ghana Social Opportunities Program should be resourced properly to go about these construction of dams. And secondly, Farouk mentioned the issue of the spillage of the Bagre Dam. This is something that we have struggled with year upon year upon year. Yet still, we've not found proper ways of resolving it. People have lost acres and acres of maize crops because of the spillage of the dam. So we started the Palgu Irrigation Development Program. Unfortunately, I'm not seeing the progress of work. The last time I checked, the only thing I understood was that the contractor was moving to site. Until now, we're not seeing a concrete attempt at making sure that the program is started. And so I think the government itself should look at how we implement policies. If we don't put interest in the policies we say are going to implement to mitigate the problems we are facing today. We'll go and then discuss them at conferences as to the way forward. And then the next year we come back again to discuss again. So the irrigation program should be done properly. We should go to Burkina Faso, look at how they managed to construct the Bagre Dam. Then we can do a better one to help the farmers in the catchment area of the white and black voter, so that these issues of not having enough water during drought seasons and when we have enough water to destroy our crops would be a thing of the past. I think that is what I think that the Ministry of Agri should take seriously.
Thank you. Thank you for that input. And on that note, there was a question addressed to JMET regarding the dissemination, the Deputy Director in the person of just joined our question. So, Director, please come in and then I will, just to answer the earlier question, and then I will take questions from people who have their hands up. Thanks.
Thank you, my brother, and good afternoon to you all. I believe you can hear me, right?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, so there was a question that has to do with dissemination of information directly to the farmers or the end users, and not necessarily through the extension officers. I must say that GMET is working hard to address that issue. Currently, we are working on weather information dissemination system, which is a project initiated by Makerere University, Uganda, in collaboration with some research institutions and universities and National Hydrological and Meteorological Services in East and West Africa. In Ghana, actually, Regional Institute for Population Studies, that's RIFS, University of Ghana, in partnership with Ghana Meteorological Agency, are collaborating to implement this project. WIS is currently implemented in Uganda and Tanzania, as I said, in East Africa. It is being adopted in South Africa, Sudan, Nigeria, and Ghana. And it's a platform that's going to enable GMET disseminate weather and climate information, our daily weather and climate information, seasonal forecasts, marine and weather warnings on a platform that will use USSD code and audio. This project seeks to leverage on ICT to address the dissemination gap in weather and climate service delivery that we have identified. We recognize that the way we disseminate our information sometimes a bit technical, and some of the end users complain that they don't understand some of the jargons that we use. So we're trying to break it down and bring it home so that the end users will enjoy using the information that we are going to disseminate or we've been disseminating to them. And so currently, we've done the installation of this system. We've customized it. We've engaged some stakeholders, and currently we are talking to the telcos, especially MTN. We had about 3 meetings with them just last week, and very soon it will come in full force. It has 2 phases. It has a web-based phase where we go to an interface, and then you'll be able to engage us, be able to access the weather information. And then has another phase which has to do with a text message. By dialing the USSD code, the information can come in the form of a text or in the form of audio. And the audio, we will work to the level that we will get it in the local languages. And so if you're a farmer and you're going to say apply a fertilizer in your farm, and you need to find out whether it's going to rain or how the weather is going to be, you're going to apply some insecticides and you want to know how the weather is going to be. Whilst in your farm, you can then dial the USSD code, which you have even secured already, *910, and then you can select if it's the text that you want, or if it's the audio that you want, and the language in which you want it. You can have that information whilst in your farm and be able to, take a decision based on the information that you will receive. And that's where we are going. That's the thing that we are trying to do. We believe we're able to do this. Our farmers and most of our end users will be able to have the information direct, unlike the situation where sometimes you have to use the radio, the television, our websites and the social media, where you have to maybe have a smartphone. This system will be available for any phone that the person is using, YAM or smart, and it will be applicable to all the service providers in terms of the telcos, irrespective of which number you are using. And so we are still working on that, and we believe when that is done, it will address the issue of getting the weather information direct to the end users for them to benefit from the weather and climate information. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. It's great work that GMET is doing. But is there room for young entrepreneurs or young people who have, like software developers who want to develop products, weather dissemination products for farmers, or they want to do anything, any technology that helps farmers? How willing is GMET to share data or collaborate with them?
That would be great. We are, as I said, we've identified a challenge which has to do with getting the weather and climate information to the end user directly, where we may not have to rely on any third party. Because if it's like a radio and the radio anchor man read the weather maybe in the morning, and for some reason, as a farmer or end user, you miss that opportunity, you would have missed the weather information for that day. And so, in addition to all those platforms that we are using, you're very happy to have any means possible to get direct to our end users. And that's what we think this weather information dissemination system that we are collaborating with University of Ghana RIFS to get it done is a good idea. We will not close the door to any young entrepreneur who has also come out with something like that to collaborate and then be able to, get the information to the end user.
Okay. Thanks very much. Samuel Kusi, your hand has been up for a very long time. Can you ask your question or bring your contribution?
Thank you.
I'll only take contribution from the 4 hands that are up right now, and then we'll transition to the final stage.
Okay, thank you. My name is Samuel Kusi. I'm a postdoctoral researcher in University of Vasa, Finland, specializing in branding and entrepreneurship. I've enjoyed the conversation so far, but my question, the first one will be for the first presenter, Mr. James. What I've seen is there's a lack between the academic field and the SMEs or the normal worker or the normal entrepreneur. Although there is an entrepreneurship studies is going on, what is the link directly between the entrepreneurship from the academic perspective and the SMEs? That's the first question for Mr. James, KNUST, the Agri Department. Then my next contribution will be what I've realized is there's a lack of proper marketing. The dear colleague talked about poultry farmers, how they are able to market the locally made poultry, distinguishing it from the imported ones. There is a clear case here that the locally made ones or poultry farm, our poultry has got good quality compared to the imported ones. How do they make this noise very loud so the local buyer will not buy the one coming from abroad, but buy the locally made ones? That comes to marketing, and we talk about communication. So the communication, well, there's a technology, WhatsApp is there, the Poultry Farmers Association, what are they also doing with regards to this kind of, because you see a lot of product there, you see the packaging doesn't look attractive. You look at the labeling, it doesn't look attractive. So you will see that at the end of the day, is this product is being put up there, it's going to be difficult for the product to sell. So these are my concerns.
Okay, thanks. So, Dr. Osei, can you answer his question?
Yes.
And then we'll proceed.
Okay, so
about the link between academia
and SME. Yes, as you rightly pointed out, we can do more. I mean, as a department and as a faculty, we have a strong link with industry. So, for instance, if you go to EDRA and EDRA, for instance, we have trained farmers over the years on proper business management. So issues about planning, about scheduling your operations, about preparing for risk management. These are things we have done. Yes, I agree. I agree with you that somebody will ask what is the extent of coverage of this kind of training and capacity building. It's been limited, mainly also because of resource constraints. So I agree with you that we can do more. We can really go into very strong relationship with industry. I know in the poultry sector, as Sir Boris B will attest to it. Yes, GPP did not go so well from the perspective of some of us, but I think that it started on a good note, and at least based on GPP, I know the animal science department and my department will have strong relationship with the Poultry Farmers Association. We've been working with BAF for some time, so we can do more. We are doing the little that we can, but I totally agree with you that we can do more. On the second issue about marketing and branding, yes, I mean at this point we cannot compete based on price because the dynamics are totally different. The cost of producing production here is totally different from the importing countries. So we need to be able to make conscious efforts to let people understand that this is what we have. The price may be a little bit higher, but you are paying premium for quality. It is very interesting and nice that Boris V is now into cat part processing, because we have done studies where although there is preference for local poultry meat, it does appear that the form in which the local poultry meat used to be available are not the form desired by the consumer. So if the average household cannot afford a whole bed for a day's bill, and they still want to consume poultry, it should be possible for them to be able to have access to poultry with 10 cedis. So it is very interesting that now we are moving into the arena of now processing our birds into cat parts. And we have the paper on consumers who need to pay on that. And I think it's a way to go. And so we have egg campaigns, which is also interesting, that we need to promote, be conscious effort that yes, we must consume egg, we must consume this product. And you see, the government also has a higher purchasing power. I mean, most of these high schools consume eggs, they consume chicken. We need to be able to make it a point that if they are consuming chicken, then it ought to be from a source. We need to make harsh decisions. After some time, our farmers will improve, and then the industry will become more efficient. They can reduce cost of production, and then we become competitive. So that is what I would say. I would say for now.
Okay, thanks for that answer. Nana.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, Bernard, I think the second question was to Dr. Boris Bedu. So I think he wanted to find out what the farmers are doing to highlight the quality of the Ghanaian poultry over the imported ones.
Okay. Thanks for that.
Well, okay, so this is Dr. Boris. I mean, what he said, we the poultry farmers, as my brother Simonsa indicated, now we have, we've gotten to a certain point whereby we are doing cuts for people. But then the fact still remains that when you do the cuts, especially with the breast and other things, in Europe, they do sell the breast as premium meat to the airlines and then to other, top restaurants, which they buy at a premium price. But here in Ghana, when you have to price the breast of the chicken at a very high price, nobody buys it. And sometimes, even as I speak to you right now, we are also going through a bit of difficulty because the price that we are buying the chicken, the price that we are cutting our chicken, people do buy the wings and the thighs and the other parts and leave the breast because they think that it's slightly higher. So at the end of the day, if you're also not even more careful, if you're not careful, you might produce chicken and people will take the wings, the thighs and, the gizzard and livers and all things, and then they'll leave the breast. Whereby, because we don't have airlines running who are going to buy this kind of premium meat at a high price. So you see, when in Europe, when they sell the breast at a high price, what happens is that the rest carcass of it, are being sold very cheap into Ghana, and that is whereby they are able to do what? To bring in all these carcasses and sell them at a cheaper price. Okay, so in terms of packaging, now I think if you see our new package, Boris B Chicken, BBC, I think the package looks very good and people are praising it. Now, what they are talking about is the price, which is slightly high. But even this time whereby we have the maize, price skyrocketing, I think the price of the chicken is going to go up a bit again. So yesterday, I was even having discussions with animal production director that we need to sit again and then of course discuss the way forward. And then if government is going to come in with subsidies for this broiler produced chicken here, then it needs to be very swift, so at least Ghanaians can at least patronize in the local ones. You see, sometimes the question is like this, the thing is like this. Now you produce maize here. Maize forms 60% of the formulation of the feed, but the rest ingredients, like soya bean, which comes from abroad, meat and bone meal, all other premixes, methionine, lysine, all other rest, ingredients that we need to do 100% formulation, still is being controlled by the forex, and that makes it very expensive. So I was advising yesterday that if we put all of them together, there should be a subsidy. We have to calculate everything, and the subsidy has to come on the finished product. Because if you go and subsidize maize, thinking that maize alone, can help the whole cost, no, it doesn't end there. The production of the chicken, the cost of the chicken, production depends. The feed forms one component, the drugs, vaccines, and other things, all coming together to produce the chicken. Now, what is the real cost of the chicken? That is where we need to the government needs to come in to subsidize and say, look, you guys have produced one chicken costing this X amount. Now, this is what the imported ones are costing. So now, what do we do then? You can put your subsidy on the produced chicken, and then we can compete fairly with them. And I believe that once we get to that point, seriously, every Ghanaian, who wouldn't want to patronize in the fresh quality, tasty chicken, as compared to the one sailing for 60, 40 days on the sea, let alone, how many days it has been slaughtered in Europe. We don't even know how many days they've been in the refrigerators, until they are being shipped into Ghana. So that is the point. And so I believe that we need to have a holistic review about our whole poultry industry. Otherwise, it's going to collapse. And the 450 million that has been imported into this country, if we are to even get a quarter of it, being produced here in Ghana, we'll move forward a bit. And then again, the banks, our banks in Ghana, I think the government, and last time, I had the opportunity of mentioning a few things even to the top hierarchies. And I told them, the banks are using, the agri sector to borrow money from outside, but then it has been used for different purpose. And besides, the interest rate that is being slashed on the loans that these farmers are, taking from the banks are too much. How can somebody produce, chicken in his country at 0%, sometimes even 1 or maximum 2 or 3% in Europe or in America? And a Ghanaian farmer will be sitting here producing chicken at an interest rate of 28%, sometimes even 30, 25, sometimes between that, 25 to 30%. How is that possible? And with high price of maize. So it becomes very difficult, for us to, sell our goods, cheaper in the market. Packaging, we've done well. I think everybody should try and see Boris B Chicken, how we've packaged it right now, which of course the farmers, everybody is very happy with it. But then the price of the production, the cost of production, that is the point that we are talking about. And I believe that we need to look at that part properly, because otherwise we will have problems with it. And that is something very serious. So we need to think about that, and then afterwards we need to think about that properly. And after we have done that, then we can say that, hey, Ghana, we are moving forward, Because seriously, the way things are going right now, farms are collapsing. Farms are collapsing. You know, yeah, farms are collapsing, and this is not something good for us at all. And we need to take a strong intervention about it.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Mr. Have some hands up. Nana Haja Salifu Dagati.
Greetings, everyone. Thank you very much for putting this on. It is very, very interesting and also educational. I've got a question for the doctor, is it Boris? You mentioned that you compare the American grain board, and the American farmers, they get more subsidies and they get more support from their government within the agriculture field. And if we, for example, in Ghana, we compare our agriculture policies and the farmers, the work that the farmers have to do and the subsidies that they are getting, it is nothing to compare to what the Americans or the Europeans get. So for the comparison between Ghana and America or Europe, I think it should be something that we shouldn't be looking at. We should look at how is it that the local farmer, as you just mentioned, that the farms are being lost. Local farmers, what is it there that the policies are there to support them, not just only giving them subsidy in fertilizers, because fertilizers are also produced by the foreign countries and it is not by us. What is it there that will help them to be able to actually be sustainable in their agricultural produce and to bring the price down? And if you also mentioned something about the chicken breast, how much chicken breast does the Ghana public consume? And compared to Europe, here they consume more chicken breast than any other part of the chicken, apart from the chicken thighs. So the rest of the chicken is basically to them is not that much value. So in Europe, for example, chicken breast is more something that they will consume than compared to Ghana. Ghana, they consume the whole chicken. And so the comparison that we keep doing with Europe and America and Ghana, I think we need to kind of go back and stop using that comparison and start looking at how can we make things better and in a different way for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I may come in very quick to rebuttal what I mean, say something, Madam. I'm full. I thank you very much for your statement. I fully agree with what you're saying, the comparison. But you see, this is the point. This is something that we need to talk about seriously. The government is making each and every one understand that they are subsidizing, crop farmers. Crops, and that is, so this subsidy, and of course the argument is that you guys have been supported, and so we should have enough of maize in the system, and again we should have affordable prices. It should be affordable. The commodity should be affordable. But in that sense, the local farmers who are producing the maize are not talking that they don't have enough. So if we are made to understand that, of course, you guys are being supported and that you have to produce maize for us, then of course every poultry farmer, will accept the fact that you've been supported. So you need to give us something, that can help us produce cheaper feed for the poultry. That is one point. So if you guys are not being supported enough, because they do compare, because the price of the maize and the maize availability, they do say it, that, hey, we have prices in the system. GCX is also in the game, okay, trying to promote the maize because they've been supported and they are trying to sell all these maize to us. But farmers are not talking that the support is not enough. So if you feel that the support that you are being given is not enough, please voice out. Because we shouldn't live in a country as if sometimes we are afraid or sometimes we cannot make our voices clear, we should be able to speak out, because here am I, as the regional chairman of the Poultry Farmers Association of Ashanti Region. I am speaking for my poultry farmers, and also as a national best digital farmer, I'm speaking in that capacity, and of course argue my points out. So we need to let our voices heard. I mean, they should hear our voices. We need to make our statements clear, so that we'll tell them what you are doing is not enough. Because after getting all these, prices, all these commodities, maize, soya, fish meal, whatever, blah, 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 and putting them, all of them together, the cost is still skyrocketing, and it's not allowing us to produce better. Now, you see, we're producing whole birds. We wanted to produce whole birds. Staying for long, and other people will not patronize my breast. But Ghanaians are still insistent that we should cut it for them, and we have done it. But we want. The best thing would have been that, yes, let's produce whole birds, because if you produce whole birds, it moves, and of course people are happy. But some people come demanding for cut parts, because probably he might not need the thighs or other parts or wings for anything, but some people need maybe the back, or maybe they don't need the breast, they need other parts. But you will still have people coming to you. So the best for us would have been whole birds for us to sell. But at the end of the day, Ghanaians, as we know, are patronizing the foreign ones because of the cut parts and the cut chicken, and so that is a problem. So we want the government to come in. If the government comes in with a proper subsidy for production of broiler meat, we can still be for Ghanaians to patronize, and if the price is affordable, they will patronize in the breast.
Okay. So I'll take 2 people more, and then we'll transition to the next panel. Mr. Solomon Mensah.
Yes, thank you very much. My submission has to do with the issue on the dissemination of the information services regarding weather services. I speak from Isoko, and this is to Mr. Eric Isuman. Indeed, it is well knowing that GMET is taking these strides in putting the technology in place, and then also partnering the MNOs and making it more affordable for, and then opening up the gates for farmers to start receiving messages across the country to support them in their various farming activities. It's worth also knowing that Isoko, for over 10 years, have identified this gap, and therefore had invested in technology to provide this kind of services. Currently, we are providing these in over 50 local languages, and supporting about 1 million farmers, 1 million and over farmers. And they have the opportunity to call our call center services with 1900 or dial 1900 and then get assistance. Indeed, if they are not able to understand what we send to them via the channels of messages, USSDs, and IVR, then they have the opportunity to call the call services of 1900 to get the information via their local languages. Our that GMET is taking now, we kind of look at a more PPP approach where you can partner other private sector that has been in the sector or are trying as much as possible to enter, just to support, because we have over 5 million farmers across the country who may need these services, and maybe the capacity, as you are starting this, it will be also interesting. And earlier submission for a private developer was asking for the opportunity to partner. Indeed, we are receiving 6 now from GMET now. Where we are looking at is to receive some daily forecast, which we can add to the one we have currently. And then the services we receive from AWARE, providing the weather information about 9-meter radius from for every farmer to be able to get specifications regarding weather services. It is our appeal that this platform, for this platform, to have further engagements with Mr. Eric Estuman and his team, so that we can see how best to foster the relationship and develop the various platforms and opportunities to serve the farmers, smallholder farmers of this country better. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I'll take the last question, then we make a transition. If this is peasant farmers are successfully joined, please you notify me. Other than that, we'll be moving to the next session soon. So please, Isaac, I'll bring a contribution.
Thank you very much for the wonderful presentations. Yeah, I followed through carefully, and I'm impressed that we have a lot of experts at the forefront of some of these issues. And one thing that I realized was that a major problem, which also translates into the solution itself, is the issue of resourcing. Yeah, so this question is actually directed to Dr. Solomon Jan Ansa. And my question is with regards to the role of the ministry when it comes to resourcing of its employees. And maybe he could share some experiences on equipping employees within these various disciplines to help improve upon the agricultural knowledge and information systems within Ghana, as in creating early warning systems, because from some of the presentations, we realized that our experts know exactly what is going on the ground, some of the problems, if not all the problems being identified, but at least we have an overview of most of the problems within the sector. So I'll kindly want to find out what are some of the things that are being done, being put in place at the moment to help keep the problem when it comes to improving upon the agricultural knowledge and information systems, since agricultural ministry is at the forefront of these issues. Yeah, so that's my problem. That's my question.
Right, thank you very much. Well, just like I said, we have the Directorate of Agriculture Extension Services, which does that direct dissemination of information at the district level. In fact, at every district department of agriculture, we have extension officers that do the dissemination. And I know for sure that the mobile links with GMET to get this information and then make sure that it is translated to the ground. But apart from the physical dissemination of information, we have an e-agriculture system in place at the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. And we have some call centers. One of the call centers is centered in Kumasi, and we have another one in Tamale, where we have numbers that farmers can call to say, so that when they have their problems, within a day or two, sometimes it's instant, but if the problem is what do we call it? If it needs an expert advice that the officer cannot do, then they will, of course, if it's a research problem, they will send to research, and it takes some time for the solution to come or the response to come. And then the farmer will be contacted to have the right response in order for the farmer to use it. So we are trying as much as possible to blend both e-agriculture as well as the physical extension services to make sure farmers will get the right information. But for me, I think it is collaboration. We need, as a ministry, we really need to collaborate with all the institutions to get the right information so that the farmers will get it at the right time for them to use so that they can make meaningful next thing from their business. Thank you.
Thank you. Bernard, I have a question. I also have a question for Professor Kojo. My question is, in identifying the problems, I think one major problem we have ignored is the galamsey phenomenon. Are we saying that it is not possible that many of the lands that have been given out to the illegal mining could be farmlands that hitherto would have been producing maize for us, but because of the insurgency of the galamseys, these lands have been lost, and this could have an effect or a rippling effect on maize production. So I would want to ask Professor Kojo, would you like to tease your mind around this problem that I'm trying to highlight? Thank you.
Thank you. I think that I don't know so much about Northern Ghana, but the Middle Belt transition area where I am familiar with in terms of research doesn't coincide with gold deposits, so there isn't much of galamsey. It's mostly of the forest and cocoa and plantain and other active, but of course, it could still have supported. But in the bigger scheme of discussion, you can blame anything you want, marketing, selling beyond the boundaries of Ghana. But what we need to remember is if the farmers are efficient, you don't necessarily need to put every farm land available in Ghana to maize or any food crop to be self-sufficient or to have enough. The bottlenecks for me are the major issue. So we talk about the climate, but what nobody is asking question about is how do you offset some of them? Irrigation, I only heard one part, but critical for me, the cross, we have enough sun in Ghana. The soils are relatively good. We can augment that with fertilizer. But the water, because then why have we even in my discussion and the doctor from Agric and everybody talks about and GMET, major season, minor season. If Ghana will equip our farmers with water, we have enough sun throughout the year to produce every day. We will not be restricted to seasons. So the critical point is the lack of water and when the water doesn't come and what we want to do about the water. Thank you.
Ben, I have a question.
Hello.
Yeah, Ben,
Hello.
if you can hear me. Yeah, this is Morris. I have a question to the Isoko boss.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to verify. I think this year, last year, we had to produce maize, and most of them were being bought by the neighboring countries. So I wanted to verify how many people were the beneficiaries of this PFJ, maize cultivation. Because on one of the platforms there was.
Did you say this question is addressed to Isoko or Mofa?
Isoko, because one Gaja president, Mr. Richmond Frimpong, was just giving us information that we had less than 500,000 people producing maize. Is that a fact, or how is it that we want to know how many people were producing the maize for last year?
Please, do you have that data at hand from Isoko?
Okay, we don't have the data for how many people were cultivating maize for last year, but on our program, about 450 farmers, 450,000 farmers, sorry, were producing. But for the entire country, each farmer was producing about 2 acres of farmland.
Okay, thank you very much. Because the last time when we were talking about the shortage of maize in the system, the Ghana president was placing the argument that he had information from Isoko, which is on on the platform, that we had less than 500 people, and so he was just coming out with this argument that the 1 million people that were being discussed was less than that, and which I was arguing strongly on the platform, with him. So once we have the Isoko boss also confirming 450,000, then which means what he was saying was possibly right. Then we need to get back to him and discuss further. Thank you very much.
Okay, so thanks. So if we have GCS was actually supposed to deliver on what has been the state of social contract around at that time. We were also supposed to answer one from ECHO. He reached out to me, that for some reason he cannot be. Please, can you hear me? Please, can you hear me?
Hello, Bernard, we can hear you.
Okay. So we are supposed to have GCS and then we are supposed to have GCS who were to deliver on the state of social contract around this time, and then EcoBank to tell us from the bank perspective what's the way forward for managing such risk and what does it mean for a farmer who has invested so much, and then there has been this climatic issue or loss, but we didn't. So what's going to happen is the discussion is going to continue. We are one of the purposes of what we are doing today is to craft a case study of what really happened, the impact, and then the way forward as we'll see soon in the next. And then because of that, and then because they are not here, we are creating a platform that will continue the engagement from now. So I'm going to put a WhatsApp group link in the chat box. And then we are very happy to have everyone. We would like to continue this discussion seriously and know what GMET is doing after this meeting and know what we are also going to do, and relying on the information that we'll be getting from experts like the professors and the doctors who have presented today, and get feedback from people like Mr. Boris on what has been the state of things after today. So I'll thank everyone for making it for this session. We are moving to the next session. I'll be handing over to Lanza, who is going to moderate that. Basically, he's going to take your last comment on what you think going forward it should be done. But I would also like to add that this issue that we're having today was way back as much as the 19th century. When you read Odewale, Chinua Achebe's book, Things Fall Apart, it was a similar story that made even people hang themselves in the village, which Odewale himself was involved. The rains came late, and when they came, it was so heavy. So as to why, even at this age, we still find it difficult to build resilience around these issues is very much growing, but we hope that discussions like this has helped us to know what has been the cause of this. We have looking at the climatic aspect, the policy aspect of it, the market drivers, the COVID-19, and then the impact that it has had from the poultry farm, the farmers, and all of us, how this has affected us. Now, I would like to know if PPRSD is run on the next panel. PPRSD is going to open that panel with a presentation of the lessons that they have learned from the fall armyworm. We know fall armyworm also caused a turbulence to the maize production and the value chain some time ago. How they've been able to handle the issues, lessons that they have learned that they can share with us today, and then we can also apply that to the climatic situation that we face. So I'll hand over to Lanza. Lanza, if you are around, take over, and then you continue with PPRSD and the rest. Thank you. Lanza, are you around?
No.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Please go on.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, this Copperfield Bandini. I'm doing this presentation on behalf of my director, Dr. Felicia Ansam Profi. I would like to share some few slides, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, please go on. Share your screen.
Please, can you see the slide? Mr. Lanza? Hello?
Hello? Yeah,
Hello?
I'm not seeing a slide.
Yeah, please, is the slide on?
No, please.
Please, can you hear me?
Yes, I think it's on right now. It's on now.
Please, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay, then I can go on.
Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity. I want to take you to the field so that we appreciate what our extension officers do on the field. Fall armyworm. What is it? What is fall armyworm? We all know that this insect was not known in Ghana. This is not its original home. It migrated from somewhere. That's its native home is the tropical and subtropical regions. Insects came to Africa in 2013, and it was seen at Sao Tome and Principe. It stayed there. It was there for 3 good years without coming out. Sao Tome and Principe is an island, so it was difficult for it to come out of that place. So in 2016, it got to Nigeria. So from there, within a very short period, that's April 2016, it was first seen in Ghana. That's in the eastern region
precisely Somanya, through our plant clinic session. It was there that our plant doctors realized that this is a strange insect. So it was identified, and we realized that it's something new in the country. So as we talk, it has a host range of over 80 plant species. 80 plant species, but it has a very great preference for maize. And this insect that we are talking about, the fall armyworm, has a very short cycle. In 2 months, the cycle will be over. That will depend on the weather conditions, especially the temperature. That's why we have high temperatures. That's the reason why the infestation was very severe here. And one interesting thing about this insect, the fall armyworm, is that it can lay between 1,000 and 2,000 eggs. One female can lay that. I just want to give you this background information before we proceed. And this insect can also fly as far as about 50 kilometers before oviposition. Hello. It seems I'm having a challenge with the network, but can you hear me, please? Can you please hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, that's very good. The network is not good here. So this 2016, it wasn't all that serious. So 2017, during the major season, we had a sporadic outbreak. It wasn't so severe, but during as the season progressed, the incident escalated, and virtually every part of Ghana recorded this fall armyworm. And those who were not able to manage it at the time got their fields destroyed. And this created a panic situation in the communities and at the same time in the whole country. So what did we do as a ministry? So we came out with a roadmap, because maize is a food security crop. So PPRSD, for that matter, MOFA, in collaboration with other stakeholders, formed a multi-sectorial task force that was constituted in April 2017 to develop short, medium, and long-term management plan for the nation. And this was coordinated by the task force at the same time, and were able to manage the situation at the time. So what interventions did we come out with? The first and foremost, a lot of farmers didn't know about this. So we created awareness. We did a lot of awareness creation. And through that, we also distributed educational, especially the farmers in their various communities. We also built capacity for the agri officers, the AEAs, and other stakeholders. The most important aspect of the intervention was the free insecticide that we distributed. That made us to be very successful. Then we set up pheromone traps to monitor the population dynamics. That's key. Somebody talked about early warning system. So this is what we put in place to monitor the population dynamics of this insect pest. And the long term of the plan that we drew was to scout for available natural enemies. Yes, it's true that the insect came without its natural enemies, simply because it escaped from its original home to a new place. So it had a field day and no natural enemy was checking its population. So it escalated. That's why in 2016, 2017, we had that challenge. So awareness creation, what did we do? We organized press briefing for about 47 media personnel who came from print and electronic media. The awareness creation, again, we developed jingle and played in English language and other local languages on more than 43 radio stations throughout the country. We also organized TV and TV shows, talk shows to educate Ghanaians on the menace of the fall armyworm. We also developed short documentaries and was also aired on television stations. At this point, our field officers, the agric extension officers, did not know much about this. So we organized trainer of trainers program for them. About 386 MOFA staff were trained in that regard. Then PPRSD is one of the technical directorates of Ministry of Food and Agriculture. So at the time, we're having 10 regions. So 10 regional officers and their assistants were also trained on an FAO monitoring device that was developed. It was an app that was developed for monitoring an early warning system. So we trained them on that. So they also went and trained the district officers. About 432 district officers were trained on the use of this app. And there was also step-down training for at least 64,800 farmers in selected districts throughout the country. Then for proper reportage on the media, we trained 65 media personnel on the infestation of this. Now I want to talk about free distribution of pesticides. We distributed organic insecticides to the farmers. I don't want to go into the technical details. Yes, these chemicals, especially the synthetic ones, will have environmental consequences it will have environmental consequences. At the same time, those who are applying the chemical. So we decided that we should do away with these synthetic chemicals. So in 2018, we came out with biological and biorational chemicals. Their toxicity is lower than that of the synthetic ones. So that one too, we distributed to the farmers and we trained them how to apply them. So in 2019, we also reduced this synthetic chemical. So in 2019, we didn't use any synthetic chemical. We are now concentrating on biological and biorational chemicals. That's what we used, and we achieved greater results. I want to share some figures with you, but unfortunately, I have challenge with my with the internet, but I will try and see if I can do that. So in 2020, we came out with 6 biorational and biological chemicals. That's what we distributed. In all, in 2020, we were able to treat 397,455 hectares of infested fields. Yeah, the early warning system, what we did, as I mentioned earlier, we wanted to monitor the population dynamics of this insect. So we set up pheromone traps. About 648 traps were set up throughout the country, and data collected from these traps, from the regions, came to us, and we analyze them on weekly basis. So where the problem is, we are able to attend to them very fast. Let me see if I can share. I'm trying to see if I can share this data with you. Very, very important. It will help the discussion. Okay, I can go on. It seems I'm still not getting it. So. Okay, it seems I'm on now. Yeah, so what I'm talking about is the early warning system. If you can see from the slide, some of the field officers are setting the traps for the fall armyworm. Yeah, so that you can see the slide, yeah, the way it is. So this is the trap that they have set on the maize field. Yeah, so as the 2017, we collected the data and we analyzed, and that's we wanted to know the moth density within the 6 months from June to December 2017. So we came out highest. That's moths per day, and it's not good at all. So Ashanti, Brahafo, and then Brahafo, Eastern and Western region had the highest infestation rate. The rest were a bit normal and minimal. So the following year, 20 days chemicals to the food for farmers to use. The density, the moth density was very low. It was normal. It didn't go beyond 0.2. So it's within 0.5 and 0.06. So this one, it's okay. That's why we were able to record high yield. So what's for the long-term measures, what do we want to do? We decided to scout for local natural enemies. It's likely that we did a lot of scouting throughout the country, and if from are in the lab trying to work on the samples that they brought from the field. And through this, we're able to get 6 local natural enemies. 6 natural local enemies. which can also parasitize on the fall armyworm. But we realized that they were not efficient enough. They were not efficient enough. So we made another scouting, and we came across this insect, which is a natural enemy, Telenomus remus. It's very efficient. So this is what we are using and will be using in the future for our maize farmers, so that they will stop using the chemicals. And it's an egg parasitoid. It can parasitize on the eggs, the fall armyworm eggs. So with this, if we educate the farmers well, they will not kill them with chemicals. They will only use this, then we are free from pesticides. So what are some of the success stories that we have? We were able to create awareness on detection of signs, symptoms, and management options of fall armyworm infestation. That one, we did it massively throughout the country. And now farmers are aware of the management options that are available for them with the use of chemicals. Yeah, the AEAs and MOFA staff and other stakeholders also built their task force observation. We realized that inadequate vehicle and motorbikes at the district level. So motorbikes and pickup vehicles were procured for some of the districts at the time. Those that were of our AEAs at the district level are now mobile, and they can get to the farms easily. So high sense of awareness on the detection, as I mentioned earlier, that's what the National Task Force came out with. And the AEA reportage, this observation has a negative and positive parts. So the AEA reportage on the infestation couldn't cover all the communities at the time because of lack of mobility. And the district task forces were also formed just to coordinate activities there, but they were not functional, probably due to cash or whatever. And we trained some spraying gangs to help in the management of the fall armyworm at the district level, but they were also not functional. I can say without fear and favor that Adenta Chief Executive, I doff my hat for this man. He motivated the spraying guns always, anytime they go to the field. So they did a lot of work at the aviation area. That area, they grow a lot of maize there. Then one issue that the task force observed was delay in moving stocks of chemicals from regional offices to the districts. So this one too was looked at, and it's resolved now. So I have this table. Let's look at it. In 2017, the total area that was sprayed, that was 249,054 hectares. This is what was sprayed, and we have recovered 234,807 and 14,247 hectares destroyed. So when we did the calculations, we realized that it was 5.7 destruction. 5.7 destruction. And since then, it has reduced. And as of last year, we had 0% destruction. So this is a plus for the ministry, for that matter, the AEAs and the farmers at large. So we were able to get this Telenomos remus, which is an egg parasitoid. This is what we are using now. And we did some tests or trials at the Soil and Irrigation Research Center of the University of Ghana at home. So we did it for 2 seasons last year, for the 2 seasons, and we've achieved a very high success. So we are trying to mass produce this Telenomus for the whole country. But what we'll be needing here will be, we'll need support from either government or private sector or wherever, so that we can mass produce to be able to supply the whole country. And we are also proposing that if it will be possible for us to have, to set up 2 new rearing centers in the Ashanti region and in Tamale, so that we will not be transporting these natural enemies from Accra, Pokwasi to these places. If we do that, we will subject them to stress, and then we may lose them. So it's an appeal that we are seeking for the private sector, NGOs, and whatever, those who can assist us, so that the maize that will be cultivated will be free from chemicals. Yeah, what are the lessons that we've learned? Fall armyworm has come to stay. If somebody tells you that we have conquered fall armyworm, it's never true. It will be here maybe till we die, and they will survive. The reason is that because of their biology, they have different hosts. The host range is serious, it's large. So if maize is not in season, they will move to another crop. If that crop is also not in season, they will move to another one. So that's the reason why we will not be able to eliminate, we will not be able to completely eradicate this fall armyworm because of their biology. Recently, we detected the fall armyworm on coconut seedlings. We are not able to reach this properly. Yeah, in field scouting to identify early, it's something that we have to be monitoring. Proper monitoring of fields should be carried out, so that the least thing that we see quickly, we have to go there. And as a policy of Ministry of Food and Agriculture, our pest management is supposed to be integrated pest management approach, not the use of chemical. Chemical is the last resort. If we are to employ IPM, integrated pest management, chemical usage should be the last resort. So that has been the policy for the ministry since 1992. And farmers are trying their best to do it, but we are also not able to reach out to all the farmers due to constraints that we have. Yeah, I think my presentation ends here. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thanks so much, sir. This yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hello? Yes, please. Thanks for the presentation. Yeah, PPISD has done a very great. Yeah, thanks for the presentation. PPISD has done a great job what the lessons I've learned and how I relate it to the climate situation is one, falling worm has come to stay and we cannot conquer it. And so is climate change and then weather variability. To be able to at least manage the situation, what we must do is we must partner just as PPRSD partnered. They were working with MOFA, they were working with everybody else on the ground to develop the right technology, everything to fight this. Today, it also calls for the same in the climate space, that we have to partner and then we have to come together as we are doing today to come up with the right solutions that we believe, and then network and then get the solution to the ground. If the discussion must not end here, the discussion must go to the ground. Some of the things they did by the trainings that they did for their AEAs and farmers as well. We must also use the media in this fight and then get climatic information and then weather information to the farmers so that all this can help them build resilience. It also calls for the right policies and the right direction, and it will call most of all for leadership. And therefore we call for the institutions which are in charge like MOFA to show great leadership in this, and as we also join, we also join in this fight. So thanks so much for that presentation. Has something that they are learning from this to apply in the climatic situation. So we are coming to the end of this event, and then the last part is to take what do you think can be done, and now everyone is going to speak not more than 2 minutes. Else can talk to the issue. So first of all, Professor Kojo, your final words. Can you summarize the things that you think we should do going forward?
Bernard, hold on. I think two people still have questions to ask. Solomon and Isaac, can you attend to them, please?
I think their hands has been up since the first session. I don't know if they still have a question right now.
Yes, Solomon, we are just a few things.
Okay.
Yeah. I have a little challenge, especially when from the private sector I want to collaborate or have some partnership with the public sector. And that's one of our biggest challenge I see in this industry, the fight against the army worm. Why am I saying that? I personally have been at PPS already for some time, at one or two occasions, trying to get them on board, because Satelligence and then Kabi is working with Isoko on this army worm. Satelligence is using satellite data to predict or give us the early warning of army worm. We did the trials in 5 districts in the northern and then Brong-Ahafo, and it was close to accurate. So we feel that, look, we can now come get this data from them, since we have the collaboration with them, and then give it out to anybody which is needed. But the collaboration with the PPRSD was not forthcoming. And Kabi has developed so many short videos that from Isoko, we broadcast to farmers. We think it's not only those farmers who should get it, because when we get the information from Satelligence, now look, army worm is likely to occur in this area. We think, look, that area needs to get the videos to watch. How will they get the videos? Those only we have on our database are those that we send in. And I can say that the problem we have last year is partly part of army worm, especially in the Millsbird, Kintampo, Nkranza, Ejura. The army worm just consume most of the crops. And yes, they supply some chemicals, but the chemicals were not enough. If you spray just once and you leave, I bet you the next 2 weeks, the army worm will come back again. So I will plead them to open their doors for us sometimes to look at how we can also put our small things up from there. Thank you.
Okay, it's
so,
noted.
Mr. Manini, just
Hello.
okay, so I don't think it was I don't think it was a question. I don't think it was a question.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but I just want to chip in this. Our doors are always open for collaboration. Every year, government spends between 15 and 25 million cedis on pesticides. That's the insecticide. Can we continue in this line? That's the reason why we have this long-term biological control thing. That will be sustainable. If we are able to do it well, it will be much sustainable than every year we are buying 25 million cedis worth of insecticide. This money can be used in other areas to support the farmers, probably build warehouses all over as we are all talking about. So our doors are
okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. So, Professor, could you also can we have your final words as far as what we must do going into the future is concerned?
All right. Thank you. I will. There are, you see, I'm sorry I have to go there. When you are located in the tropics, what we have, gold, galamsey, water, sun, we are blessed. We have a lot of things, but probably we don't know what to do. We don't have as much problem as we may think we have. The gentleman that just presented did a whole lot of things as an academic. I may have a problem, but I love what he did for identifying a biological control. But you see, what we are not doing is, you probably the team that did that, your ability is the identification of the biological control. If you want to control 4 armyworm with biological control, we need other people to come in, and we need billions of cedis to, because how do you mass produce the pathogen or the fly that can eat the worm? You don't need a local farmer. I went to school somewhere in Florida, and they plant a lot of citrus or oranges. So some few years ago, when Ghana was exporting things to Europe, and they bring it back and say there's too much chemicals in it, so we won't take it. Ghanaians are yelling, and we are not happy because South Africa, Europe, at least North America that I know, they use biological control, because if you spray the fall armyworm, the residue will be in the maize or the crop you sprayed. So I think the gentleman's presentation should have ended at, we have identified something. But you see, producing that bag of fly on mass and releasing them, it's a big undertaking. And you probably don't need a local farmer. You just need to release them into the atmosphere. So for me, my concluding remarks are that we should know our limits. We should know what we can do. I have always labored that a little bit of the problems we have in Ghana, if we would solve them correctly, we wouldn't be talking about problems. We will be talking about successes. So the gentleman that ended, this is my support for your work. It is not within your reach to mass produce the animal you have identified. Somebody has to do it. For me, my research, I'm talking to the farmers, and my experience as a farmer's son is that if we will produce water through irrigation to agriculture, there will be more than enough food in Ghana. So let us know what we can do, what needs to be done, and do it. So with this forum, my final conclusion would be that there is a crisis, there isn't enough maize, but the reason why there isn't enough maize is that the structures and the structural weaknesses in the peasant farmer, smallholder farmer system has not been addressed. If we do not address problems systematically, the future will be even worse than it is today. But the beauty is that the solutions are looking at us. Let us grab them, do the right things, and we will be fine. So I don't know. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much, Prof. Thanks. Dr. Osai Mensah. Yeah, can we have your final words as the way forward in building resilience for smallholder farmers and then not having this issue in the future? Okay, it seems Dr. Semensa is not with us. If let me check for my participant list. Okay. So yeah, GMET, Dr. Eric Suman, your final words with us. What kind of?
Well, I think my brother from Isoko says something. We have to collaborate among ourselves to be able to, bring our expertise and energies together, synergy, so that we'll be able to help the stakeholders. What is the problem here in Ghana is that most times we operate in silos. And so we are not able to, leverage on each other's capabilities and expertise to help our people. And so I believe we need to collaborate a lot. The project I spoke about, we are collaborating with University of Ghana, the University of Ghana and other research institutions. Isoko is doing something, Ministry of Agric. We also collaborate with them in some levels. We have had a very wonderful project with them, project named GASIP in the northern sector, where they've been giving us about 12 automatic weather stations, and then we give daily forecasts to a group of farmers that they've given them to us. I believe we need to collaborate more and, be able to help our people with the CSOs, the media, the academia, and then those of us who are, providing the technical service, so that together we will help our farmers and our end users, and then stop operating in silos and not appear to, knowing what each other is doing, and maybe at worst, undermining each other. I hope if we come together, the collaborative platform is wonderful. We got to know ourselves and what we are doing. I think it's something that we need to work on, move from this level to where we are sitting together and collaborating on specific things that we need to do to help our end users, the farmers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director. And then I'll call on Madame Lucy Queno, your final words.
Yes, thank you very much. It's reiterating what my senior said: collaboration. Yes, insights now are into forecasting specific characteristics of crops in the vegetative and productive stage using meteorological services. So you can say, for example, that on the 24th of January, of May, the maize will flower, something like that. So this is the new trend now: specific plant features, crop variety features, based on meteorological and services and agronomic services, a blend of meteorology and agronomy to forecast specific crop variety features of plants in an entire cropping cycle. So that first of all, in January, I can forecast every feature of a plant, of a crop, up to its harvest on specific dates based on the weather forecast and agronomic features. So that's the way to go now. Let's use the meteorological data we have, information we have, and let's use the agronomic information we have to better the lot of actors in the value chains, specifically the production actors who are the base and of the entire value chain. So that's it. Collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Alenzada Inti Kani, you've not spoken today. Can you tell us what you think in your own way going forward needs to be done? Mr. Alenzada Inti Kani. Okay, Emmanuel.
Let's listen to, I think.
Willindo, yeah. Yeah, Mr. Vanini, can you go ahead?
Okay, thank you very much. Prof made an assertion that PPRSD cannot produce these biological control agents. I want to tell him that PPRSD has a very
please, he didn't say PPRSD cannot produce. What he said is it shouldn't be the job of PPRSD. If I understand him, it's
yeah, we see PPRSD has been established by an act of parliament to control and manage pests and diseases of this country. Yes, that's key. We should know this. And we have a very rich experience when it comes to biological control or invasive species management. If we talk about mango mealybug, in the 90s, PPRSD has been able to manage it to some extent. Then papaya mealybug, 2012-13, that way Ghana was not exporting papaya, but it's because of the intervention from PPRSD by the use of biological control agents. Now we can export, and we still have this biological control agents in the system.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's what I'm talking about. In terms of please allow me to make this point clear. In terms of collaboration or cooperation, PPRSD is collaborating or cooperating with international institutions. IITA is key, both local and international. CABI is also doing massively for PPRSD. University of Ghana, we collaborate with them. All the universities and research institutions, we collaborate with them. Our doors are open, and you cannot undertake biological control activities without the involvement of farmers. Farmers are the final users of these biological control agents. So if you don't involve them, you don't create awareness, you don't conscientize them, then what you will do will be zero. Because the moment they see an insect, they don't know what type of insect is it. So they will just mount their spray machine, they will go and spray, kill. So what we do is we talk to them that, oh, this is the situation, this is what we are coming to do. We need your cooperation before we release, and we even involve them during the release process. So farmers are key stakeholders when it comes to biological control work. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Hello.
Thank you. So, Dr. Solomon John, if you can give us your final remarks.
Thank you very much. Going forward, I think there's the need for the institutions that are concerned to give us a real-time information if I could say so, maybe, for example, regarding the weather forecast and then the early warning systems, the agronomic packages and things like that. But sometimes such information can be complex. So if we could assemble technical people to really, what we call it, make sure that the information is packaged in a way that farmers really understand, so that the information to reach the farmers, I mean, at the time that it will be useful to them. I will be very, very, very happy about that. Then secondly, what I also realized from the various presentations is that, in fact, we are living with erratic rainfall. I mean, the climate change has caught up with us. So there is a need for a strong policy so far as investment in irrigation infrastructure is concerned. I mean, we need to really get the forms that we really need to help our smallholder farmers. And it is very key, because I don't want a situation where you plant a crop and at a point in time, you wouldn't have rains and all your investments, I mean, will go into waste. I don't think it's the best. We really, as a country, we need to work on that. Thank you very much.
Manuel, go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you very much. My contribution for the way forward is that I think MUFA will have to do more in living up to its mission and vision. If you look at their vision that their vision, which they posted on their website, they said that they are to the vision of the ministry is a modernized agriculture, culminating in a structurally transformed economy and evident in food security, employment opportunities, and reduced poverty. And so far, it looks like they have not done much with respect to the modernization of agriculture. I mean, and listening to all the presentations, especially on the aspect of irrigation, we haven't done much. We are dependent on the rain, and rain-fed agriculture alone cannot take us out of the current problem that we have found ourselves. Northern Ghana have the opportunity, or we have the capacity to do all year-round production. Currently, we are dependent on only the rainfall. So MOFA will have to do more. And one last thing, we need to improve our coordination. I see a lot of the research bodies, they have done a lot of research, but how we have been able to incorporate that for farmers to use still remains a challenge. Thank you.
Thank you. Grave.
I think there's a challenge with Bernard's network. So Farm Smart, can you give us what you think needs to be done?
Okay, so talking for Farm Smart, I'm Eugene. And depending on our case study, I wanted last month say that scrapped about 10 acres of cassava. The point was just simple, because the prospecting for gold mining was available. And the farmer has to be so
Please go ahead, FarmSmart, please. After some FarmSmart, anybody at all who has suggestion, comments?
So concerning what audio is active.
Yeah. Yes, your audio is okay.
Yeah. So I made a comment concerning the Galamsey about last month, a 10-acre that was settled by the farmer for a Galamsey operation. And that had the food security, and the farmer was being settled because he planted for the same purpose to make financial sustainability. Now, if our food security is not protected, in that other businesses can come with the same pain around, then I think we'll have these cases around. We have over 10,000 outgrower farmers in the soya bean and maize, and we've been having our own issue. But our collaboration with some of the private agricultural universities have helped us so far now. Now we enroll a program that is the Professional Farmers College. That is only a 2-month training for only practical case studies, learn how to farm, and then make a good business plan out of the farm. And this way, it's very successful for the first 2 cohorts we've had. I think we needed more collaborations to make this thing sustainable, to make agriculture to the youth much sustainable to help.
Okay, that's well said. Mr. Solomon Mensah, yes, if we can have your last words. Mr. Solomon.
Yes, thank you very much. I believe I don't have much to say. A lot of what we intend to say has been said by almost all the early participants that gave their submission. The little we'll add to as our voice will be that the collaborations has to be forthcoming, and other partners or other stakeholders that have played significant role should bring their knowledge and then their experiences to bear. And then the last aspect also is to drum home the fact that it is important for us to look at improving the irrigation mechanisms and support farmers, especially the smallholder farmers, with irrigation equipment and train them on how, and even financial sector should come into support because we've seen that that is a key challenge as we rely as a country on rain-fed farming activities. The moment we embrace this and find pragmatic measures and policies that will make it come to stay, I believe it will go a long way to increase, if not finally solving all the problems on shortages and of food crops in our agricultural sector. It will go a long way to increase the production. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Samuel Kusi.
Hello?
Yes, please. We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Can you please come again? I can't hear you properly.
Yeah, we want your final comment on the way forward. What do you think going forward we need to do?
My main focus is on the marketing aspect because although there are some challenges, we know it's been there for ages when we talk about irrigation, access to finance, and all those things. But once there is entrepreneurship coming up, what is my view is there should be an innovative way. For example, how do we convert the little that we have in an innovative and sustainable way so that we are not always depending on the government, or we are not always looking at what some foreigners are doing. Mr. Boris talked about competition coming from outside. Obviously, chicken breast sold in Europe is far, 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 far expensive when compared to that of Ghana. But my point is the Ghanaian aware about the importance of why this price premium is as such? That level of communication is not up there. That level of marketing is not up there. Technology has come. WhatsApp is widely available. The Poultry Farmers Association, come on. If, for example, there is radio, TV that is expensive, what are these cheap medium to create the awareness to the ordinary Ghanaian? Because without that proper communication, all the time, the government is not willing to budge, because maybe there are some a strategic alliance that they want to form with America, Europe. They've signed some contracts, so they have to also budge to certain technicalities or requirements of the contract. But that doesn't nullify the fact that we cannot do the local marketing. My main problem is the local marketing. If the local marketing is on point, a time will come, the local customer will stop buying the imported ones. Then the local Ghanaian will have the opportunity. So the maize farmers too also have their share of the cake. And the link between academic and the industry is another problem that I have, because it seems the academic is a standalone and the industry is a standalone. Therefore, the academic is not understanding the industry, and the industry doesn't want to know what the academics are doing. But if we are to bridge it, the academics should go down to the level of the industry, the small peasant farmer. What is the importance of the farmer to even know about proper way of selling? All that they care for is if the maize comes, they bring it to the Kumasi Central Market, or there are people going there to buy. But if we are able to break the gap and go back to them and let them understand, then the middlemen, what is the universities doing? What are the universities doing? We have entrepreneurship courses, we have marketing courses, but these are theoretically based. They go to practical or industrial attachment. But this industrial attachment, I see.
Can you be quite brief?
Yes, I want to land. I see that these industrial attachments are not beneficial to the industry, because the students, I have been there. I was at Sunyani Polytechnic. I know, I realized that when I went to I went for the practical industrial attachment, I was doing everything by myself. I was not relevant to the company. So the universities should readjust and bring the student to the point of view of the practicality. For example, if the courses are run and a course like entrepreneurship or marketing, the student is attached to maybe a small business in Abosuokai, that is where they are doing the proper marketing. These things will transform. So if a shop owner sees that a student is coming there not to be paid, but to help the small shop to grow, then they will see the relevance of of academics, and it will break the gap for the two to come together to grow the economy. Thank you.
Bernard, I think we are running out of time. So Bernard, so let's hear from Baba and Raja Isa. So if you want to speak, when they are done, you just speak, and let's conclude everything. I mean, we run out of time.
Hello. Good afternoon. Hello, please. I hope everyone can hear.
Go ahead, please.
Okay. I enjoyed the presentations and the contributions so far. I'm actually not an agric person. I'm just a concerned citizen about the maize crisis in Ghana. And I've learned a lot from the presentations as well as the contributions. So, and I think that all the suggestions that came out from this very discussion shouldn't just end here. We should try to, those who are into agriculture, Ministry of Agriculture, and the other institutions should take it up and see how it can be implemented or it can be used to help solve these problems. So I think that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. So the last person, Suleiman. Okay, Isufu will speak last. Dakwabia, can you speak?
I think Teddy was about to speak. So we have
Okay.
Teddy, we have Baba Shigoso Ewa Baba, and we have Jeremiah. I think these are the 3 people who haven't spoken, and CFS. These are the 4 people. So if they can do it quickly.
Yes, I think I will just be so quick on this one. I want to thank the framers of this platform for this insightful deliberation. Mine will be that at the end of the day, I think the organizers should be able to put up a very strong document and present to whoever is responsible, so that various discussions and contributions that have been on this platform will not just be talk shop, but at least it will be a point of reflection. I would also want to say that as a contribution, I believe that government must pay much interest in science research, because all the countries that we use as models are countries that really have placed serious emphasis on academic research. And therefore, we must be able to push government to contribute so much into research of the various institutions. I believe that they have the capacity, but just that they don't have the enough resources and logistics to be able to carry out a research that is needed to move the agriculture sector in general. So I want to commend the organizers, but I want to say that put whatever discussions that have been raised into proper documents, and let us make a presentation and see the way forward. Thank you.
Yeah. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Go ahead.
Please.
Can somebody hear me?
Please go ahead.
Hello. Yeah. This is CFS. Yeah. Thank you very much for organizing this meeting, and I'm very much enjoyed it. And my contribution, what I want to add here is that the irrigation case is very important for irrigation to be organized and to be managed in this country. We need, because the rainfall pattern is not uniform in the whole country and it's erratic. So because of this, there will be, after harvest, you see that there is bumper harvest, or there's maize that is very much scarce at certain areas and is common at certain areas. So this brings disparity in prices. So it is very important, the irrigation case is very important that we consider the irrigation, and it doesn't stop at this meeting. And I also want to commend PPRSD for, at least we have discovered a biological enemy for the fall armyworm. And I want to congratulate them for that. And I wish that more collaboration with other people so that we can have a common enemy for the fall armyworm. Thank you very much. Hello.
Thank you, Cephas. Thank you very much. Baba, are you speaking so that we'll end with you? Bernard, take over and let's finish it.
Yes.
Okay,
Good afternoon, everyone.
Okay, so Dr. will.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. I would like to say this is one of the most insightful, informative, and then educative presentations. And looking at from how the presenters are presented whatever they have, I am seeing something here that we need to do more to be able to secure the food aspect and also to tackle the climate change. I can tell you that by listening to all the presenters, we need to do more in order to safeguard our farmers and also our economy. Because right now, Africa is now open to all for business. Therefore, if the few neighbors who are just closer to us are able to even have an impact or effect on our maize production, now that the whole continent is now open for business, what do you think if we don't put very strong measures in the future? Right now, I would like to end here by saying a very big thanks to all the presenters and then the organizers of this wonderful meeting. Thank you very much.
Bernard, please take over. Let's finish up right away.
Yeah. So yes, we are concluding. So I'll call on Suleiman Isifu. He is director of research at the center, and he will summarize everything being said, and then we'll close.
Okay. Before then, we have posted a link, a WhatsApp link, at the chat. Portion. If you can quickly join the WhatsApp group, and there is a document that Bernard has shared too. If you can also, it's a survey, post-event survey. If you can go through it, and then let's have whatever input you have so that it will help us in our future events. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much. So on behalf of the Center for Climate Change and Food Security, we would like to thank, first of all, our guest presenters who gave very insightful presentations on the maize crisis that is ongoing in Ghana. I must acknowledge that this is the first ever national dialogue of experts on this problem that has been identified, not to have only happened in 2020, but also happened in 2015. So we want to leave this dialogue or this webinar with key issues to be addressed. And one of the key issues that has resonated throughout the presentations, especially as has been found to be the root cause of the maize crisis, is the issue of water. So water is a major issue which has been identified to be a major problem. So from here, what we are going to do as a center is to put together a communique, a memorandum, and we would want to take advantage of the upcoming parliamentary vetting of ministers, especially the Minister for Food and Agriculture, as well as the Minister for Environment and Science. So we want to put up a document together, forward it appropriately to the Parliamentary Select Committee on Vetting. And then these questions will be put to potential policymakers who would be coming for the vetting. And then we hope that when the issues that we have identified in this dialogue are elevated to that level, that is the parliamentary level, then we are sure that the issues would get ventilated, and then solutions that we are going to profile in our document or memorandum or communique will be laid before these potential policymakers, and then we hope to see changes. But what is key is that we are leaving this forum knowing that water has been identified to be the major problem of the maize crisis. The socioeconomic impact of the maize crisis has been well elucidated by our presenters. So we don't want to go there, but the root cause is water. So how do we address the problem of water? And we have also, in this presentation, identified a solution, which is that we should try as much as possible to form a network of collaboration between various state institutions, and then see how we can partner with each other to solve this problem, because the problem of maize crisis has monumental consequences on the socio-economic development of Ghana. So in sum, the Center for Climate Change is very much grateful to our presenters, to our participants, to the discussants, and everybody who contributed to make this, to making this program a success. And we can assure you that this dialogue will not just end here. We are going to take it to a next level where all the problems that have been identified with its accompanying solutions will be presented to policymakers, but we'll take advantage of the vetting, the upcoming vetting, to see if these problems could be ventilated at that forum. And then we hope that solutions that will be given at that forum through our medium would be implemented. And then we don't have to have another discussion on maize crisis going forward. So thank you very much on behalf of Center for Climate Change for joining this forum. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And then the consultation continues from here. FAO is supposed to talk about food security, what this actually meant for security, looking at the number of people who take maize in their homes, and then the number of people who, egg is the cheapest protein that we have, and they couldn't make it. EcoBank was supposed to present on what this means for the financial sector. They haven't been able to make it. And then peasant farmers on what the impact has been on their members. But I think Madame Lucy has done a great job. She has also worked with small other farmers. She spoke to that capacity. And then GCS, I got an email from them later, but we'll find a way to hear from them and then incorporate that into the communique that we'll issue out. So thanks everybody. GCS was supposed to talk about social contract around this time. What has been the issue between the suppliers and then the buyers around this time. So we'll find a way to hear from them and expect all this to be incorporated into the communique that we'll issue. Thanks to everybody. I'll call on Cephas Grave to give us a closing prayer. Then we'll continue on the WhatsApp page that has been created. And please do your best to at least complete that 3-minute survey. That will go a long way to help our future programs. Thank you.
I think they would not have access to the document if we end this presentation. So you would have to put it on the WhatsApp platform. But the moment we end the presentation, they wouldn't have access to the document anymore.
Oh, okay. So what will happen is this video, this event, as you can see, is being recorded. There's going to be editing and processing by our team, and uploaded to YouTube, and the link will be sent to all of you who have participated today, and probably on the WhatsApp platform. So please do well to join and then get information. Thanks. So Grave, Cephas Grave, if you can pray for us to do this way.
Shall we pray? Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you. Father, from the beginning, you were with us throughout the deliberation. We thank you for a successful deliberation. Father, we pray again and we ask that whatever we discuss, let it be when we put it up, let it be accepted and be implemented for the benefit of your people. We thank you, Lord. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Amen. Thanks to everybody. Thanks to everybody. Please, Nuruddin and Suleiman and then other colleagues at the center, please wait.